Okay. Yeah, my mic is like super quiet. Oh, check, check, check. Okay. I'm starting that. Where's my audio coming from? All right. So we are live. Hey, everybody watching. We are live. We're waiting for Jeremy, and so we've just been sitting around. So I'm like, well, maybe we should just like actually go live. I don't know where my audio is going. What's happening? Okay, it's going there. There we go.
Can you hear this guitar? The guitar
Yeah.
through
If
the
it's
amp
going,
though?
yeah. If it's going, are you coming out of the amp or are you going into your interface?
It's in my interface, and I'm using Bias Effects too.
Okay. I think my mic is like super quiet, so I'm gonna fix that and bring it up to my face.
Have you
I'm using a new
tried-
microphone too, so I'm also trying to figure that shit out. So
Have you tried
Okay.
putting it in your outer face?
Ooh, what's up, man?
What's that?
do I have a book? Man, I don't have anything.
A book?
I need something for the mic to sit on because it's super quiet. I'm using my old Samsung mic.
Oh. I guess. I mean, I can hear you just fine, but I guess it's because it's not the same mic.
You're pretty quiet there, Ben.
Well, it's because I'm not talking into my mic.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, at least I can monitor us on YouTube. Oh, I need to change the goddamn title.
Change
Okay.
the goddamn title.
I need to change the title.
Goram.
Hey, your hair's sticking up a bit, Daniel.
I know my hair. Let's
The
see if
hell's
I can
going
get
on?
that. There you go. I don't know. It's been like that all day. It's just like even without the headset. Hold on.
Yeah, it's just stuck like that. Maybe you should shave it like your dad. Look how handsome I'm made.
Just need to get my hair cut. It's been a goddamn minute. Okay, I should probably change the description because that hasn't been changed either. Fargo season 3. If anybody's jumping in right now, we're just waiting for Jeremy. He said he'd be a couple minutes, but we figured we'd get started with a little a light jam for you. I'm just kidding. We're figuring out audio stuff.
Ben,
so.
look at this new guitar I got.
Yeah, look at that guitar.
You already showed me that. That's the one.
59
With
the different one.
You got another semi-hollow?
The different one. This one's a fully hollow. It has one P90. And it's $159.
That's really good for a guitar.
It's by a company called
incredible.
Grote or Grote. It's out of China. You can get them on
Grotum?
Amazon. Grotem.
Why do you keep buying guitars?
I'm kind of on a guitar kick right now. I like the sound of this. It's got a single P90. Got a single P90. See that in the bridge or the neck position. I don't know. I'm just been guitar kick lately.
Okay.
Why do you not keep buying guitars, Jeremiah?
Hello.
Because I already have a guitar and bass that I really like.
Nah, get new ones.
You can always have more.
I only have 4.
See, thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy's got the right idea.
Where would
He's
I
got
put
like
that?
7.
I can't
Yeah,
just go
guitars
buy
and
a ridiculous rack like Jeremy has for all of his.
But this is only 159. So Jeremy, look at my new guitar.
Whoa! I thought, wow, dude, that thing looks sick.
It's a single.
That's a
Is
nice
that a
red.
P90?
For the 90th
Yeah,
time,
it is
yes,
a
I've already
P90.
told you it's a single P90 in the neck position, but this is $159. Yeah,
What, is that an Ibanez?
no, it's a Grote.
It's
a Grotum. Look, it's a thin line,
It's
fully
Grotum.
hollow, with the P90. I mean, I
It
did
is
some
cool
work.
that
to it.
it's thin.
That is sick.
Sounds fantastic.
Where'd you get it?
Internet.
Internet.
This one was off of Amazon. I mean eBay, but you can get them from Amazon also. But I happen to get this one from. But no, I read a lot of reviews about it and stuff. I watched a lot of videos, and a lot of guys playing it really like raving about how cheap, but how great this guitar is. Now I had to file the nut though. Still, the strings were kind of
a little bit wonky.
I do a little bit of work to it, and the fretboard was extremely dry, so I had to
For
polish
that-
the frets.
for
It'd
that
have been
price,
50
though.
bucks. Dude, right? Speaking of polishing frets, let me get my beer.
Nice.
Ah,
I feel
classic.
short. Is my chair not? I feel like I'm.
Really? I feel like you're like right up in it.
There we go.
I need to get right up in
Nice.
it. How's my mic sound? Is it okay?
I mean, you sound fine,
Okay.
but
There,
it
that's what
doesn't
I'm
sound
used
like you're
to.
using a studio mic. It sounds like you're using your headphone mic.
It does sound.
Oh
like
yeah,
that,
yeah. To you, oh that's right. To you guys, it is gonna sound like that because I have it swapped. So let me. Okay, so this
Not
is
that
the
I mean, it doesn't.
this is the Samsung mic. Is it
Oh,
kind of
you're
quiet?
super
Yeah.
quiet. Yeah.
Okay, that's why I'm using this with you guys. I've jacked it up on Streamlabs, so we're about the same. I think you guys are slightly louder than me, but I am maxing out my mic. That's the problem with these digital mics. If you're ever getting into anything like this, do not go digital because you can't control your actual gain. You need to go analog through a digital audio interface. That's the way
What
to
I'm
go
doing.
because you can control your gain on these analog mics. These digital ones, they suck. Don't like them. But
Yeah.
I've been
But
having
you-
a bunch of problems with my interface on Windows because Windows. So
Oh,
yeah,
Windows.
Freaking
dude, I
Windows.
plug it in on my Mac and it works perfectly fine, no
Yeah.
problems. And then with Windows, I have it going through a USB, a powered USB port, and it still has problems. So I guess the power draw is too much. I don't know.
I find that the best results
don't
are
know.
generally to get a magnet and a ribbon, and just wrap the ribbon around the magnet and hold it really tight, and then just speak into that.
You're talking to
whenever
that?
you,
Yeah, that's always a good method.
I could try
you know,
that.
like
what you're
just
doing now.
go back to the fundamentals, right?
Support us on Patreon. The first tier is a tin can that I send to you with a wire. That's how you can hear me on the podcast.
You got to leave your window open though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also
Is the
Probably
snow
won't
still
be
on the
drinking.
ground over there, yo?
No, it didn't last.
Okay.
For, yeah.
It lasted up here for about a day. It was on the ground still yesterday morning.
Oh,
great.
really?
Hmm.
It's fucking
Oh, yeah. It was all
nuts.
gone down here. I think it was
Nuts.
the
Yeah.
city culture scared it away.
It just ate it alive.
I'm snowing here. Yeah,
That
they
innocent
work.
snow ran out of the terrible city.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Terrible,
Innocent snow.
terrible city.
Horrible.
The innocent.
It was pretty cool though. I was not expecting that much snow. It must have been at least 5 inches, which is a lot for a place where it never snows. Apparently, this
Oh.
happens like once a decade. So
Once a decade. Okay.
yeah, pretty cool stuff.
or every 10 years. Whichever comes
Yeah, whatever comes first.
first. Are we on? We doing? We're
Yeah.
going?
So speaking of snow, we
Hey, I guess that's
watched
pretty.
Fargo. yeah,
Yeah.
season 3 of Fargo a while ago, and now we're finally talking about it. We're supposed
Mhm.
to talk about it last week, but Mandalorian took precedent. But now we're talking about season 3 of Fargo. I'm very excited to start, as you guys can see. We wanted to talk about this for such a long
It
time.
took president. It took president.
It took precedent.
took-
Yeah.
That's not the only thing that took the president.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know what that
Oh,
means.
whoa.
It was good. Concurrent. See
What are you drinking,
how
Kermit? What the hell are you
concurrent we are.
drinking?
Some enchilada.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those 7-Eleven micheladas. They like come in a styrofoam cup and they have a packet of like ramen sauce with it.
It was
Reals?
one of those cups.
And the funny thing is they're
Yesterday.
actually not grosser than a regular michelada because they're all disgusting.
No.
I think those are actually better than some of the micheladas you get at like a restaurant, to be honest.
I
These are
made
weird
what is in this cup. I made it, but I'm just reusing it from before, like I did last week with another cup.
Oh, that makes
Mm.
sense actually. You get like because the micheladas are like it's like pasty, right? So when you pour another beer into it, it absorbs some of the like prior michelada flavor from the styrofoam edges of the cup.
This is true. This is true. Also, there's no way that you're going to clear this whole rim. I barely touched it.
Oh yeah,
There's lots of
look at
rim to
that.
clear. So, it's almost like they wanted me to reuse this cup.
Yeah, you're gonna be
Which is
doing
what
a
I
job
did.
on that rim.
Yeah. A lot of rib to clear.
A big job.
It's a big job.
But
that
yeah,
one.
and I'm using Dos Equis,
Ooh, okay.
Nice.
All
my
right.
Classic
michelada,
beer.
which is great. Love Dos
Mhm.
Equis.
Never go wrong
Art
with those.
Lou. Drinking my Art Lou.
I've got some experimental IPA.
Damn, I don't have a
Ranger, okay.
drink.
Voodoo
This
Ranger.
feels weird.
Should really get a drink.
I should get a drink. I have more vodka, but I don't have anything to mix it with.
Didn't
You
just-
don't
I have
have any
lemonade.
cranberry?
You wanna grab
Okay,
some?
okay, we're putting the podcast on hold. We'll come back in an hour because it takes me 30 minutes to go to Ben's and back. So I
Be
can actually
faster
go
to
mix
go to
myself a drink.
Jeremy's.
Yeah, vamp for me for a
Yeah.
second. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
pour myself
2
something.
days.
Could
2
be
days
worse. Well, this is
Oh,
gonna.
revamping.
I can tell you right now, this can be boring because I absolutely loved everything about this show. I have
I
Hmm.
nothing bad to say.
am- I feel like
I'm not.
you're not pulling
I'm not.
you're not making a
I'm not pulling.
this isn't a Daryl Gambit.
No, this isn't.
Daryl Gambit.
This isn't a bait and switch setup of mine. No, I really, I've forgotten. I mean, I remember really, really liking it, but watching it again, I realized how absolutely fantastic and perfect this season is, and I wouldn't change a fucking thing.
You wouldn't change a single thing.
I thought about, I thought I did last time. So the last time we were talking about it, I was there some stuff I remembered. I thought I could have done without, but now that I've watched it again, it all fits perfectly. And excuse me, I wouldn't change a fucking thing about it.
That's crazy. Okay, well, I have a very different opinion for you about the ending. I think the ending.
Okay, I've changed my mind. So the ending, yeah.
The last 3 episodes, I think, made some critical blunders that, like, it doesn't ruin the show or anything like that. But
yeah,
we'll
I had a
talk
couple
about
of
it more in detail.
questions. So maybe I missed something, or and yeah, I actually have one little quibble with the ending, but otherwise,
Okay.
all the way around.
That's why I was surprised, because there are some things that happen in the end that are prime, I think, for Daryl's school of. Well, wait a minute.
Daryl's
Well,
school.
I can be. Here's the thing, though. I'm not easy, but I can be had, which is a line from Michael Douglas says it in *Romancing the Stone*. So that's the thing about this. If I love something, I will not even see the problems with it a lot of times. You know.
Right.
So I will have the cloth over my eyes, man. Like the Breaking Bad. It was probably the 3rd time through that show
Mhm.
when things started to kind of pop out to me that I didn't like so much, and I could have done without. Like the Betsy, the whole Betsy Brandt. What was her
Okay.
character's name? Hank's wife.
Oh, Marie.
Could have done without all the Marie shit. I think it did not help the show. at
Oh
all.
yeah, that is kind of one of the more
Interesting. Yeah,
forgettable
all
parts about the
I just
show.
spilled vodka on my keyboard.
Oh, nice. But that was by the 3rd viewing of that show that it kind of stood out to me. I could have done without it.
Yeah.
The first,
I
that's the
actually
prob-
I've never seen Breaking Bad all the way through. I've only seen the first season.
so
That's crazy.
fantastic.
Neither have I. I couldn't get into
I think it's one of those things where you're like, it was okay and I couldn't finish it, or you love it to death and you get tattoos on your body.
I actually probably would enjoy it
That's
now.
true.
At the time that I tried to watch it, it was so dark and
Why
like.
don't you turn a light on?
Oh, well, that was I turned the brightness up on my TV. No,
Dumbass. If it's dark, you turn the lights on.
Of
was it
course.
the battle for Winterfell? And
Winterfell? The battle for Winterfell?
The Battle for
Winterfell?
Winterfell. No. So the issue that I had with it when I originally tried to watch it was that I just wasn't prepared for how bleak it was, and I was already like I was in a pretty bleak moment in my life that I think that trying to watch Breaking Bad was just too much.
you were making it,
Which is funny because the earlier seasons are the most lighthearted ones.
They really are. It just
That's what,
slowly
yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
descends into
the
madness.
thing
Right?
gets darker.
When he pulls the bike lock and fucking strangles that guy,
That part's pretty cool.
I was just like, I'm not sure that I'm emotionally prepared to handle this show right now. And then 2 episodes later, the bat falls through the fucking ceiling, and I was
Yeah.
like, I definitely can't watch this.
Even that
That's
well,
pretty cool.
I don't
That's like
know.
dark humor stuff.
I was
though.
gonna say, it's kind of
that
funny.
it fell through the
Yeah.
where
It's a
where
little-
the him strangling the guy in the basement is very intense, especially after they just had a conversation about how the guy worked at the furniture store where he bought his his furniture for I think it was Junior Walter
Yeah,
Junior.
for his he brought his cradle. Or
Yeah,
something like that.
Bassinet, actually.
Yes, Bassinet.
Bassinet.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a very dark show. It's very intense, and that's also why I loved it, because that show very much reminded me of Michael Corleone's transition from attempting to be a good person into the bad person he always has been.
Right. And
Which is
sort of
what
being
Breaking Bad is.
reluctantly bad at
Yeah.
first, and then just fully embracing it.
Well, again, my theory about Michael Corleone, and because at the beginning of let me get off this. Beginning of The Godfather, he sits there and tells Kay at the wedding, "This isn't me. This is my family." Tells about all the bad things. This isn't me.
Yeah.
And then he becomes
all that stuff.
Because he doesn't become it. He always has been. He doesn't become a bad person. He's always been this guy, you know.
Hmm.
But because he uses he doesn't do it consciously. But his father getting shot in the street, and almost dying in the hospital is his catalyst, you know. And Walt's catalyst is his
Cancer.
lung cancer.
Yeah.
So really quickly, I mean, I knew this guy he was sober for 17 years. I worked with this guy sober for 17 years. And he went to the doctor and they did an x-ray and he had a little spot on his lung. And that was all the excuse he needed to go back on dope. You know what I mean? So, and I'm like, well, and then I go, well, dude, hold on. It's just a spot. Shouldn't you go back for more testing? He was like, it's it, man. It's over. So he had been looking for an excuse.
Clearly, yeah.
I'm telling you, this was like lunchtime. Next thing you know, he's scoring cocaine and he's gone from the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, in that you know, weird roundabout way to prove that Walt was always like this. He was just looking for an excuse and he found it. That's what he tells Skylar in the end. You know, I loved it. I was good at it.
Yeah.
He finally admits to it, and that's what's great about.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, you can tell that he really enjoys it when he's banging Skylar in the first season.
Yeah.
And really quickly, I always hated all the shit that poor the internet people, all the shit that they gave Skylar because, you know, Walt's a horrible human being. You know,
yeah,
he's not the fucking hero of the show. I mean, I know he's the anti-hero protagonist. I don't know what you call it. I guess he's protagonist because but he's a bad fucking guy. And she's reacting to this horrible situation that she has been thrust into with this family of hers, and finding out her wonderful husband is this horrible drug pin guy. You know what I mean? And but it's weird to read all the comments and all people hating on this character because she was reacting to this.
Because it's like, geez, can you just let him cook meth, please, Skylar? Can you please get out of his way?
Can you just let him kidnap your baby?
Why am I so dramatic about it? You know, that's how I always feel when I watch. And I know it's stupid, right? Like, obviously she's not wrong, but when I watch it too, that's how I feel. Like, can you just stop?
I felt so bad for the character the whole time. I felt so bad for the character being thrust in this horrible position, right, where she doesn't want her son to know what a horrible human being, because he idolizes his dad until he starts calling himself Flynn. But you know, he idolizes his dad. He loves his dad. He just, you know, you don't want you to tell your kid that your dad's a horrible human being, the drug kingpin of the Southwest.
Right.
So, anyways, what I was saying, Dana, when you were getting your drink, was that this is gonna be boring because I loved this show. I love this season, and I had nothing I was going to change about it. And then Ben started bringing up some things, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's a couple of things actually.
Wait,
but
about Fargo?
About Fargo.
Yeah.
Fargo.
There's a couple of things I would love to change.
Loved, but I'd forgotten how good this is.
Hold on, have we introed the show yet?
How good? I don't know.
Okay. This is We Like This Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry it took us a while to get started. Technical issues. I didn't have a drink. That was on me. But we are finally doing season 3 of Fargo. And today I'm joined by myself, Jeremy Dallas, Ben Nickerson. He's still giving me that look. I do that every week. And then Daryl Waters, my dad.
What look is
and he goes, where he goes, I'm joined by myself. It fucking bothers me every single time.
I'm fucking here, dude.
He's here.
I can't not look at him like, what the fuck did you just say? Every single time he does.
Wait, do it again. I want to see the look because I'm going to look at Ben now. Go ahead.
I'm joined by myself, Dana Waters. That's it. That's the look.
That's the one every time?
That's the look, yeah. Every single time. I see it out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, now y'all are going to see. There we go. So,
it just
like you were
gets
saying,
me, man.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, again, Fargo season 3 is some of the best television out there. That I
really is.
There are a couple of things I really wish that they did to kind of like snap up the story. I feel like it could have been 8 episodes instead of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that about a lot of things.
Yeah, and I have very specific, especially watching it this second time. Yeah, there's definitely stuff they could cut out, but yeah, what were you saying, Dad?
Oh, nothing. I was fine with the 10 episodes. I got to be honest.
I was fine with 10 episodes as well. Actually, I didn't feel like it was too long.
the Queen's Gambit could have used less episodes. I don't know if it was 10, but it definitely could have used less episodes.
Queen's
This
Gambit's
I think
actually
was
only 7.
perfectly paced. You know, I think it.
Yeah,
find
I
myself-
want to say that like the show is phenomenal. And having watched the movie and being a big fan of the original movie, a lot of stuff that they do, especially in the first 7 episodes, pays amazing homage, not just to specific scenes and happenings that occur in the original movie, but also like the tone is pretty spot on. The way that things happen is pretty spot on. Like I've never seen a show manage to capture what made the original series so good, or the original movie so good, like
and
better
unique.
than this. Yeah, and unique.
And unique.
That's a good way of putting
but
it.
in a good way.
Like the first 7 episodes of this show feel very, very much like Fargo. And there's some things that make Fargo very special and unique that are like kind of what set it apart for me when I watched the movie. So I was really appreciative of that. And then there's the other meta stuff, like they use some of the same sets from the movie. They have some repeated dialogue or repeated themes that happen like in the plot. For example, there's a scene where the girl gets picked up by the police in the motel, and she tries to climb out the window after housekeeping. That's the exact same scene as the end of the original movie, where Mr. London, what is it,
Lundegaard.
Jerry Lundegaard.
Jerry Lundegaard tries to climb out of his motel room.
Swangle.
Yeah, Nikki Swangle.
Hmm.
Love that.
So like that stuff, I can't praise this enough. I think it did such a good job. I do have some serious issues with the route that they chose for the ending, but we can get into that.
Yeah, I think about, and I'd forgotten about the one I was going into my gushing tirade, that there was I have one narrative problem with the ending, but otherwise, again, watching the second time through, I'd forgotten how fucking beautiful it is too. And David Thewlis is,
oh my god,
just perfection. The guy is so amazing in this, and it's hard to say he makes the show because everyone is so good, like it's so perfectly cast. Man, is he just, when he's on the screen, man, he's just delicious.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Guy fucking chews up this, and he's so natural and so good. And he's the best bad guy. God, he's the best bad guy because he's this really bad teeth, ugly, unassuming English guy. But goddamn, is he terrifying? He's absolutely.
Oh yeah. He does a really good job.
He makes you not only like hate him, but also there were numerous times in this show where I'm watching it and he just pisses me off. Like it's not that he is like, I hate him because he's such an evil guy. I'm watching him, like the way he talks to the parking attendant when he's parking the huge semis.
God, I fucking love that scene.
I got so mad. I was like, you asshole. Like I was just mad because he's like, so
We're
condescending.
Yeah, well, it's so great because they
made me so mad. Like, what an asshole this guy. So it's good
like,
when
are
they
you guys together? And he's like, surmise.
Surmise.
What?
Like, fuck you,
like,
surmise.
Because we arrived together, we are together.
So
surmise. Mad. It's so good.
Yeah. There's something I love that there's a meme in the Fargo universe where parking attendants just get shit on. There's just something like, I don't know why they decided that like fuck parking attendants. There's like even fucking Steve Buscemi, right? Who gets into the argument with the parking attendant in the movie because like he's like, I just went in and now I'm coming back out, and you expect me to pay? You expect me to pay? I decided I didn't want to park here. What the fuck? Fuck you, man. He like throws the money in, and then like an hour later in the movie, he shoots a parking attendant in the garage. So it's just like, yeah, fuck parking attendants, dude. That's the Fargo.
So.
That's the Fargo way, man.
Yeah,
parking attendants don't deserve shit.
Any parking attendants that are watching.
They're not too. They're too busy working their parking attendant job to watch this.
Yeah, well, they could be watching this on their phones.
They're too busy attending parking.
Yeah.
Well, another thing I love about the show too, and then this is in all seasons, is the way that they, like Ben said, they sprinkle in little things from the movie. Like, I mean, one of the entire subplots of the movie is the Stussy lots, and he's the parking lot king of Minnesota, which was a huge thing in Fargo. You know, him trying to get that deal in the movie Fargo. He's trying to get that parking lot loan,
Right.
Right.
because he's like, we can make so much money off of it. So I like how they take little things like that, and like that's the business. That's the business that
Yeah,
we're gonna be focusing
it's
on.
an established world.
Mhm.
You know, even though it's an anthology series, it's very clear that all of the events of Fargo happen, you know, in the same universe. It
Yeah.
feels.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
even I the last week when we were talking about it, I remembered back I think it's the second or third episode when she goes to when Gloria Burkle goes to Hollywood and to research
Oh yeah.
Stussy after he dies, her stepdad. Uh, I had originally thought that, oh, maybe that was a throwaway episode, but after watching this again, it's absolutely not a throwaway episode, and it's fantastic, and it totally fits. Like later in the last episode
Okay.
when she's at the bar and what the hell's her name? Winnie Lopez
Oh,
shows
yeah.
up.
Mhm.
Go to the ladies,
Oh yeah.
clean yourself up, and they have this beautiful moment where she explains how she feels like this robot. I can
Mhm.
help. It's great. Like you're saying, it all connects together, and I'm like, this is totally not a throwaway episode. You need
Oh
it.
yeah, that's a very beautiful moment.
It
Actually,
is. And then when
And-
she tells her to stand up, I want to show you something, and she hugs her. God, it's just
Oh
beautiful.
man! And then she
Mhm.
goes
Oh.
to the bathroom, and she, you know, she
Oh, no, everything
tries
works.
to.
Works, yeah.
Everything works. That's like it's such a and that's such a Fargo thing to do too. Just like make little real life annoyances like be part of the story.
Yeah.
And like you know, she's like fucking my goddamn radio just like sucks. And it's just
Yeah.
like it's such a it never is like a major plot detail, but it is something that's around and just like mildly irritates her. And that's like it feels like real life. Like I love the things in Fargo that make it feel like this is something that truly did happen, which is their whole that's the whole crux of the show, right? Is like this is a real story, you know, that these are real events. Out of respect for the dead, we're telling it exactly the way it happened. You know, they always preface it with that. What I've realized is that the reason that they do that is because the way the show is written, it comes across in such a way that like all of the annoying little minor details of life, all the minutia of life exists in this world and is captured by you know, by the cameras. So it's not just here's like a really like here's a really good plot, here's a really engaging plot. It's this feels like something that could have legitimately happened.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
really appreciate the you know the ability of Fargo to accomplish that.
And I didn't know there was so much money in parking lots.
Yeah.
But it makes
Yeah.
It
Right.
makes sense, right? You know, you're charging people to park there, and you
People
just
need to
gotta,
park.
you know,
Yeah.
people
You get, you know, like what? How many does he have? Like 12 or 13 different lots or whatever. It's like, hey, that adds
Something like
up.
that, yeah. He's the
I-
parking
I-
lot king of Minnesota.
I feel like we should
Yeah.
go over the story, but maybe not because it's so goddamn complicated. There's so many players, there's so many
I don't
parts,
yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think
well,
we need to go over the
yeah.
story in depth.
right? Like you should just watch the goddamn show because
There's a here. I'll do some setup, and I do want to get into the absolute first scene, which is I really want to pick your guys' brain about that. So basically, season 3 of Fargo is very bare bones, just summary. We have a couple different players going on. So there's a parole officer and his parolee are together, obviously when they shouldn't be, and they're trying to extort money from the parole officer's twin brother, and that's a very
I think they're twins. They're not twins. It's his older brother.
Yeah,
oh, is it his older?
brother.
Okay,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
older brother. It's
No,
just
sorry,
it's hard
his
to tell
younger
because
brother.
it is
It's his younger brother actually.
Ray is the younger brother, who's the parole officer. Emmett is
No,
the
no,
older
no.
one.
Emmett's the younger brother, I think.
Emmett's the
Sure about
okay.
that?
I don't know.
Either way.
Anyway,
Well,
Yeah.
I thought they were twins because it's Ewan McGregor playing both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that's-
I
And
thought
so I thought they
that
were
too,
twins
but
when I
I'm
first
like,
watched it.
I'm
Okay.
like, I have a twin, and we look different. We don't look that different. You know,
Yeah.
one of us doesn't have curly hair, and one of us isn't half balding. So
Yeah. You're just
I
both
kind of looked it
balding.
up. Like, I don't think they're twins, so they're not twins. They're just brothers.
Okay.
Which you can be brothers and one balding and one not. We got all that going on too.
There's a lot happening in the Waters
Can
family.
confirm.
Yeah, can confirm.
Really quick. My brother Doug's 3 years older than me. He's got all his hair.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And
that's
Danny's got really long hair, but he's balding. Shouts out Danny. So yeah, so we have this plot going on. Then, but I think the main one that just pervades through the entire story is the older brother, younger brother, whoever it is, Emmett Stussy, is he owns this business that does very, very well, and he co-owns it with Seifeld's. He'll be back. I hope. But he co-owns it with one of his friends, Seifeld's, and they basically get taken over by this dude that just comes in and he's like, "Hey, that $1 million loan that we gave you was actually an agreement for us to be business partners. So we're gonna take over your business and launder money through it." And so now it's him trying to deal with that, and like, we never wanted this, never wanted to get any kind of criminal anything. Yeah, that's a huge plot plot point. And then we have the police, which is Gloria Bergel, and she's trying to figure out why all these murders are connected to the Stussy brothers and kind of what's happening there. And she becomes the foil to VM Varga, who is the guy that takes over the business.
Played by David Thewlis brilliantly.
Beautiful performance, absolutely perfect, nails it. So one of the thing I really wanted to get into is the actual first scene of season 3 of Fargo. Like, in the first episode, it actually opens up in late 1980s,
Eastern Germany.
In Eastern Germany, where this dude gets picked up by the police because the address that he lives in, the previous owner of that address killed his girlfriend, and so the police bring him in because he's their only lead. And basically, when he's being questioned, they're like, "So you live at this address?" And he says yes. And he says, "Well, the owner of this address is this person." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm not that person, so we're cool. I can go." And the police officer's like, "Well, you killed your girlfriend." And basically, he's just like backs him into this corner where he says, like, you can't go against the state, right? It's like against the law, like you'll go to jail for saying the state is wrong. So he basically backs this dude in the corner so they can just arrest somebody for the murder of this woman. And he says, "So you're saying the state is wrong?" And the guy's like, No. Well, yeah, but not really. And so he gets back in his corner, and you don't know exactly what happens to him, but you assume that he goes to jail because they need to pin it on somebody. But that scene never gets referenced at any point later in the season. And it's kind of just like this interesting way to open the series. And I thought it was kind of weird when I watched it the first time, but watching it the second time, I actually really like the scene because of what season 3 is about. And it's, in my opinion, that scene basically just shows like there's some things that are just going to be out of your control and you can't do anything about it. You kind of just have to roll with the punches because they definitely left explain it.
Interpretation, I guess, as far as that goes, because you're like, it's you never see it again. You never see these characters again. You know anything? It means nothing.
Yeah, it's funny though, because there's, even though that scene is completely disconnected, the entire series is powered by some of the things that happened in the Cold War. I mean, you've got the lawyer who gets thrown off the side of the building. He's from East Germany. You've got VM Varga, who's using techniques by the Stasi to keep up with Emmett, and you've got Yuri, who was a Cossack in Ukraine in the 80s when they basically pillaged and raped the Ukrainians during the Cold War. So, like, even though that scene is disconnected, other than like its themes, it's funny that they used a lot of inspiration from that particular police state and kind of spread it throughout the show as like a fundamental, just like background noise. Because they didn't need to do. I mean, it's fucking Minnesota. Like, it's Minnesota in 2010. They didn't. They had no requirements to include all of this inspiration from the Cold War, but they opened with a Cold War scene in East Germany, and then they continued with that influence throughout all the episodes. It's really fascinating storytelling.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what you guys thought about it. Yeah, I mean that's what I thought too. I mean it brings you in though in a way too, like because I came from watching season 1 and then a little bit of season 2 and then I watched season 3. So I was like, when you see this scene, you're like, this is so out of place and strange. Even like coming into the show for the first time, I think like you probably don't expect this scene to be at the beginning of an episode.
They do a lot of weird things. It's like I forget which it's deeper into the season. It might be episode 6 or something, where it opens up with Peter and the Wolf. Basically,
Oh my god, a great episode.
it introduces characters, and I think that's Billy Bob Thornton doing the voiceover.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and he'd been in
yeah,
season 2 or something.
He was in season 1.
Season 1,
yeah.
He's the main
which
antagonist.
really quickly, I think he's what makes season 1 so amazing.
Yep.
He is fantastic at it. You know what I mean? He's not. I don't know if he's David Thewlis level, because David Thewlis is really, really, really incredible in this.
Yeah, David
Different
Thewlis
kind of
does-
character though too. Different kind of character.
True. Yeah,
Yeah.
different kind of character. But anyways, I don't want to get into the minutia of that garbage. But excuse me.
Right.
But it's the show's very artsy too, as far as that stuff goes. You know,
Mhm.
because it's kind of never referenced again, except they use the music. They just keep using the music.
Well, that's the amazing thing about it is it actually made me second guess myself. Had they always been using those instruments for the themes of those characters, and only in like episode, I think it is episode 6, maybe episode 5.
Yeah, something like that. Whatever they.
Yeah, that they like basically call it out and explain what everybody's role in the story is.
Mhm.
And at that point, like they still completely had me. At that point, like the show does a phenomenal job with the themes and well, yeah, I mean, just generally with the themes. Like it's incredible writing just from a thematic standpoint. You know, they don't really blunder stuff when it comes to just like artistic plot details. The cinematography of the show is also beautiful.
It is absolutely stunning. Everything about this show is amazing. And really quickly, did you guys know in episode 2 when she goes to Hollywood to research the Planet of Y, I think is the name of the call. Her
Planet of Y with the
Planet of Y. Yeah, her stepdad
H at the end.
gets murdered, and when he was younger, he went to Hollywood, and he won some award for science fiction writing, and then he got
Scammed, basically.
by this producer and actress team that basically scammed him for all his money. So the actress is Clint Eastwood's daughter, and Frances Farmer, I want to say. So the woman that plays the old version of her as a waitress, that's her mom.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah, that's why they look so much alike.
that's
That's
cool.
really cool.
So I thought that was cool too, because I'm watching this.
I thought they just got lucky with the casting.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, they look so much alike. Like, they really nailed this older, younger version of it. And sure enough, she was one of Clint Eastwood's many partners and had a kid with her. And this is Francesca Eastwood, the daughter. And then Frances Farmer, I believe is her name, and she was in Unforgiven, and
Gotcha.
I think a couple other things with him. I don't know if she wasn't like with him as long as Sandra Locke was. Sandra Locke was with Clint Eastwood for 20 years, and then he kicked her to the curb, and she was no longer in his movies. But that's what he does. But anyway, so that's kind of an interesting thing. Why that casting was so brilliant.
Yeah,
It was because
yeah,
he used the
that's really
mother-daughter to
clever.
do it. Yeah, it is pretty clever actually. So, and also I remember recognizing the older one from like, man, I've seen this woman somewhere. Frances Farmer woman, I believe that's her name. But anyways, little interesting trivia.
That's
So,
really cool. Yeah.
So in the first episode, you really get a good taste of like all the characters, and I think they do a really good job of it all. But my absolute favorite part is actually when you meet VM Bargo for the first time, when he walks in, or actually, Emmett gets a call from his business partner.
Francis Fisher.
Francis Fisher.
Apologize.
So Emmett gets a call from his business partner, come into the office, like that dude from the firm is here. And so Emmett rushes down, and then you meet, and this is after hours. This is way after hours.
Right.
Really quickly, it's because they called the number. I just get clicks and buzzes.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
Call the number.
Buzzes, and
Got the
clicks.
money, ready to pay you back.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, so you meet.
God, I guess he doesn't want his money. I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, they meet their the guy that loaned them the money. It's his company, narwhal that loaned him this $1 million, and they're like, okay, we're in the black now. We're ready to pay you back, plus interest. But the VM Varga comes and basically tells him, no, you signed a contract that basically allows us to take over your company. So that's what we're here to do. And he's been watching them and making sure that they're making all the right steps. And now they're at the perfect point in their business where he can just launder money through them. But meeting him for the first time, he has this heavy British accent because he's David Thewlis. And they're just like bewildered, and they're like, they have no idea what to do. And so Seinfeld is like, well, I don't know how they do it where you're from. And VM Varga's just like, America. But that is such a good like misdirect, because like he's just throwing these people off constantly, and he's totally playing them like a fiddle from the first time he meets them. And it's so well done, where he just like doesn't seem to care about anything, but he's just like, we're just gonna take your business
right away that this guy is in complete control.
Oh yeah,
of everything that's going on right now.
I mean,
Right.
the way that
They don't have a chance.
The way that he plays it is so like, oftentimes in plots like this, I can't help but think like, just go to the police. Like that's usually my there's always like a really obvious answer that like for whatever reason they don't come up with because they're stupid. These characters are not stupid. They're actually like they make some pretty decent decisions as they're getting forced into this contract. And at no point does it ever feel like, oh, we could just go to the police. It's like it slowly gets worse and worse and worse. And then there's like it's actually kind of funny too, because they think it's getting worse in different ways. Like there's that scene in episode I think 2 where the semi gets parked outside of one of their lots.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. The semi just showed up, and they're like, oh, well, we should go check it out. No, I don't think we should check it out. We don't want to be complicit in anything. We got to, you know what I'm saying? We got to make sure we keep up our account, our, what is it? Plausible deniability. He's like, well, what do you think he could possibly have in there? You don't think it could be? He's like, well, I sure hope it isn't slave girls. Slave girls?
Oh, yeah, slave girls.
I was just thinking it could be drugs. You think it's slave girls? No, of course not.
Straight to slave girls. That was pretty funny.
It's really good how they handle that, like build up to it's a shitty situation, but it's just kind of bad and gets worse.
Yeah, I don't think the characters Emmett and Cy are criminals at all, right? Ever. So they just borrowed money when they needed it from the wrong people. But you're right, it makes you wonder. But I think VM Varga, when he comes to basically explains to him, was like, listen, you can't do anything. Because what if they went to the cops? What will the cops do? Nothing.
Yeah, well, he says something, but he's just he basically says that he's like, you can't go to the police. Like it's not going to do anything for you.
And even later,
sorry,
go ahead, Jeremy.
Well, the one thing that they try and do really early on is fight it legally. They actually want to try and fight it in court.
That's right.
Their lawyer gets murdered. So the lawyer gets killed and thrown off a bridge.
They have the shittiest lawyer of all time.
So they actually had a really good idea.
The lawyer that
can't necessarily go to the cops, but we can try and fight this in a legal
You're right.
battle.
They do try at least. Yeah.
And he kills their lawyer.
Lawyer can't even use the internet.
Which, obviously makes them shit their pants because VM Varga doesn't hide that fact from them. He like shows
he tells them, oh, by the way, I killed your lawyer.
Yeah, he's like, I'm so sorry about your lawyer.
Yeah.
It's a shame that he Googled my name.
Yeah.
Also, like, but how... I don't know about you guys, but I thought that scene where the lawyer is trying to look up VM Varga was creepy as hell, because he goes to that webpage and he downloads that malware basically that takes over his webcam and takes a picture of these two people.
It kills their computers.
And then their computers are dead, and you're like, holy shit, like what's about to happen? But he's just like, you think we should call that IT kid? Can you get him on the phone?
Yeah.
Which again,
no idea.
No idea what's happening.
Like that is such an amazing moment that like demonstrates what's really good about the Fargo universe is that these two fucking old people, I mean, we all know those people that have like legitimate real jobs that don't know how technology works.
I feel like those old people a lot of times.
And so it's just like it's such a classic moment where it's like, well, yeah, of course this old lawyer had no idea what he was getting into. His fucking like his assistant
none of them did.
Also old. Like it's so well done. And they have that, and she's like, I don't think it knocked the power out. The lights are still on. It's like
check the light switches and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, people that have aren't criminals, have no idea about this type of criminal element that you're going to get thrown off your parking garage, whatever level they're at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
love that. I
But
love.
I think this is when we first meet Yuri.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
that's when
and
we
Nemo,
first meet
rather.
Yuri, and
Yuri
it's
and
such a
Nemo. Great
it's-
characters.
Oh man, I
Great
love
characters.
Yuri. Actually,
Yuri's
the,
great.
the whole
Yeah.
the whole thing where the freaking the lawyer who's also an East German is like, you're acting like a Cossack. You're
Yeah.
so crude. And he's like, Cossack. That's so mean. You think that the Cossacks are so bad? What? Just because we raped and murdered and killed the babe? He's like,
Explains that he's
just
Cossack.
'cause-
Yeah.
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 And he's like, he's actually a fucking Cossack. And then the guy's like, oh shit, and they throw him over the fucking thing. And it's like, damn, dude, like that would be terrifying. You're like, you call someone like the worst thing you can think of, and it turns out he actually is that thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, side note, what did you guys maybe you would know this? Do they ever actually tell you about what is going on with what's his name's teeth and face and all that?
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's
and I want to
he
get into
has
this.
Finally,
has-
what is he doing with his teeth or something?
he has bulimia.
He's
Mhm.
His
bulimic.
bulimia. Okay, so,
Yeah.
okay. So that one I knew
Which
that
is
there was an
interesting.
explanation.
Yeah.
And
so
weird.
It's a fascinating character trait. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to talk about this, Liz. If you're watching this, we had a discussion about this, and I want to say now that I've seen season 3 again, I disagree with you. So let me know in the chat. So his bulimia is a very important part of his character because it's literally what he's doing to these businesses that he owns. Because I mean, bulimics they eat, well, in his particular case, in his bulimia, there's a scene where he's sitting down at a diner and he's got tons of food in front of him. And he looks like he's eating it with like relish, like he's like shoveling it in his mouth and he's like happy to be there, kind of thing. And then the next scene they show him actually throwing up in the bathroom.
Yeah, he's purging.
So that's exactly what he's doing to these companies. He loves going in and taking them for all they're worth and using them until there's nothing left, and then he just throws them away. So it's a very literal translation to what he does.
Yeah.
To these people. And so I thought it was a
That's
really
interesting, that
cool way
connection.
to do that. And it shows how like gross of a character that is for someone to do that to a business. And in this case, they point out his teeth because of the stomach acid eats away at bulimic's teeth. So it's a very common thing. But his is exacerbated because he's
It
taking a
destroys
pick
your enamel.
and he's picking at his teeth and making
Yeah,
them bleed and
yeah.
stuff like that. So it kind of just shows like, you know, how gross it is what he's doing to these companies through his teeth specifically, and the way he treats
Yeah, it's a
those,
very clear.
and the way he treats himself.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And that's
so-
actually that's a really good catch. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, it's
yeah.
also, in my opinion, it's because he's so controlled and really shows no emotion. This is how he purges his emotion
Mm,
Okay.
through because
That-
it's right because you know we've all vomited and you get a rush of adrenaline, and it's painful and it hurts and it sucks and everything. But you feel better afterwards. You always
Yeah.
feel better afterwards.
Mhm.
Like you've gotten something out of you, and this is it's just my opinion too as to why this character is bulimic is because he has to be. It's the only way he can get this out of him. Not that he
Right.
feels any guilt for what he's doing at all. This is his. He's even explains it several times. This is normal. This is how it is. I'm a predator. This is
Mhm.
what I do. I have.
Oh, he's like, what is happening now is you are realizing that I am a shark
right.
and you are a fish that is stuck between me and a wall.
yeah.
And it's like the way that he just
Thanks,
the
Liz.
way that he just tells people that he's just fleecing them for everything they have, and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it with so much confidence and like assurance.
Yeah.
I mean, it would put anybody on edge and make them blunder and fuck up. It's amazing.
Can we talk about the? Oh yeah. So Liz wanted to know where it stems from. I think that's what it is. I think it's just an interesting character trait that they use to explain a very big. thing
Yeah,
of
and
what's
it
going
also
on
serves
condensing
another
it into a
purpose.
simple
The
trait.
bulimia serves another purpose in that it makes him it grounds him as a character because it is a
Yeah.
thing.
It's a human thing.
It's a human thing that you can't really like it should be sad, that he has bulimia, but because of the nature of his person, it's like this vile, disgusting thing about him that only serves to like highlight all of the things that have gone wrong in this guy's life.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's Fargo, and Fargo is about real people experiencing real trauma and trying to get out of real crime. And so this guy is just a real person who happens to be bulimic. That's the that's the worldview of it. But thematically, it's exactly what Dana and Daryl were saying.
Yeah. So since we're talking about VM Varga, can we talk about the absolute best takeover that he does, in my opinion? It's when he finally breaks Seifeld's. So Seifeld's has been resisting this dude. Like Emmett's kind of like caving in, like here and there, but Seifeld's is just like, this guy's like wrong and he's bad and he's ruining everything that we have tried to do. Like you need to, he says like a couple times to go and deal with Ray, you need to unchain me, you know, like release me. And he does nothing, you know, he fucks that up, you know? So, but there's a scene where he's been like kind of losing it. And so he comes into his office and Yuri and what's the Asian dude's name?
Mimo.
Yeah.
Yuri and Mimo are in the foyer, and then VM Varga's in his office, and they bring him in, and then VM Varga's like looking at a picture of his wife. He's like, "You have a fat wife," and right off the bat, you're just like, "Oh shit, this Sai's about to get his comeuppance right now."
Oh my god!
And he basically
yeah.
compares Seifeld's wife's her loyalty to the next man that will walk into the room with the platter of cold cut trio sandwiches or something like that. So he's basically saying that the person with the deli sandwiches is the one that's going to have his wife's love. And it like breaks Sai. He's just like, that's such a rude thing to say. And it like destroys him. And then he takes his world's best dad cup that he has from his kids and just puts his junk in it. And then just like twists it around. And while he's like saying this to Sai to like keep breaking him down, and then he makes him drink water from it. Yeah. And so there's that entire scene
was such an
incredible,
amazing scene. So cruel.
Yeah.
So totally breaks Sai. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, really quickly too, it's interesting because Yuri never carries a weapon except for that leather.
That
whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The like.
And Mimo's always got a gun
thong,
on him.
I think, leather thong.
It's weird. It's the thing he beats Nikki Swangle later with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it a blackjack?
It's
I don't remember that.
No,
blackjack.
It's like a leather. It's like a fucking leather.
Like a
thing.
woven. It's almost like a whip handle, but it's. Just
okay.
I think that is a leather thong. I think that's what that is. I'm not sure.
But yeah, either way, he always like carries.
Never has a weapon.
He's super threatening with it too. It's so funny. There's like a scene. I think there's a scene where he's at gunpoint and he's just got it's with the cop in the library.
Yeah.
And he's just got the fucking like thing, and he's just like,
oh yeah,
I'm not here. You must be mistaken.
Yeah, that was a good fake
talking
out
to
because you were almost
in the
positive he was
library.
going to
He's
kill
actually
that
just
guy.
reading a book the whole time. And
Yeah.
totally intimidates this guy into leaving.
I love, dude. That's actually one of the best scenes of the show. Is when
it was fantastic.
He's like, you must be mistaken. There's nobody here. What? I'm looking at you. No, you're not. There's no one here.
And that cop really doesn't ever say anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
He really just leaves.
You must be a pretty crazy person to be talking to yourself in the library at night.
Right.
The library / police station.
Yeah. God, what an amazing scene. Yuri is such a strong character.
You know, it's funny because I grew up in a place with a library and no police station. So it's interesting. So when I see stuff like that, it's funny to me that they mix those two, and it makes perfect sense that they would have them in the same building because there weren't even police up there. There was a sheriff's station, but they were up there during the day, I think, but there was nobody up there at night. Where I grew up, small town in Southern California. So it was weird. So it was weird to me. Like, well, they got a police station and a library. It's the same place. That's amazing. Basically, where I grew up, they told you if anything happens, it's an hour until anyone gets here. So
yeah,
because there were no cops up there at night. There is now, but there wasn't at the time.
Yeah, I mean that was, and again, a testament to realism of the show. It's a tiny town. It's getting taken. Their police department is being absorbed by the county sheriff, and like, you know, you've got like that's one of the subplots is that Gloria Burkle is not able to investigate as well as she normally would be because she's no longer the head honcho of her own police.
And the dude doesn't believe her at every turn.
Oh, the
Every
new
turn,
chief.
the new chief
And
is
he's got-
shutting her
it's-
down.
He's a dick, but on it, like it's funny because he's such a righteous asshole because we know what the facts are, but the reality is like he has perfect logic. He never says
absolutely.
anything that's actually like unreasonable. It's
No.
just that we know so much more than he does based
Yeah,
off.
we know all this other story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know
And
more
in
than
fact-
Gloria.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
fact, there are times like early on when you first meet him and she like sasses him and he's like, I'm gonna pretend like you didn't just give me lip on my first day here. Like, I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like he's kind of pissed off. I was actually pissed off for him in that scene because I was like, he doesn't know that, and she's like sassing this guy. It's like, yeah, she's kind of acting. If you didn't know,
Yeah,
she's
if
kind
he
of
didn't
acting
know, of course he would
pretty
be
bitchy here, you know?
he would feel justified and you know I love all of the examples that he gets because Gloria is constantly being like, no, this is complicated, here's exactly what's going on, I've got all this documented evidence, and he's like, let me tell you a story about a girl with this specific name. She writes a note, puts it on a balloon, it floats away, falls down in a completely different county, different people. Another little girl 9 years old picks it up. They both have the same name. Real story. It's a fucking coincidence. They happen. And it's just like,
Yeah.
I love that because it's such a reasonable, rational thing to say as a police chief or, you know, like head detective. It's like,
Well, he's a very abrasive, but like you say, his logic is sound, and he has
Yeah.
no reason to believe any other way.
No, yeah, he
Mhm.
doesn't know what we know. He's just, acting accordingly.
Yeah, but then also to
know?
tag onto that scene, well, Gloria's like, well, let me tell you a story, and then fills him in and gives him all the details and stuff like that, and basically her theory, and he's just like, I hate that story, and just like
I
shuts
love
her
that,
down
yeah.
immediately. Love that
He's-
part.
I hate that story. But yeah, he's just like, things are simple. Like, don't overcomplicate. That's his whole character. He's
Mhm.
just like, I believe that the simplest answer is the correct one, which honestly, as a detective, probably isn't wrong 99% of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Again, this is a very complicated story. That when would you ever expect this to happen? I mean, in our
Yeah.
lifetimes, we're never gonna ever see anything like this ever remotely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you have some guy blow in with the wind and take over a company and have murderous thugs working for him. I mean, come on, you know.
And at first, that's not why she's in this so wholeheartedly. It's because of what happened with her
he even says
former
that.
father-in-law.
Mhm.
It's like, I get
Yeah.
this, it's personal, but you know,
Mhm.
go grieve. You have 2 days and then come back. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, her father-in-law didn't need to die so violently. This dude
Oh, yeah.
was like it wasn't when she first happens upon the body. I couldn't really tell exactly how he died.
Yeah.
But then when they talk about the details
he
later,
super glued his mouth and nose shut.
yeah, like what
From
the
this
hell?
dude, what was Maurice's original crime? I think it was just for theft, right? Breaking into
He
rich people's
wasn't
houses
like a
and stealing stuff.
known.
See, he wasn't
Yeah.
this murderer, this terrible murderer.
He's just like
Well,
he's a pothead B&E guy. Why is
Yeah.
he super gluing people's mouth like that? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I
I
mean,
hope
I
it wasn't
love
a
the
friend
way
of
that,
yours.
yeah, that's like there's so much good stuff that comes from that, though, because you learn so much about Nikki Swango and Ray from their interaction with him after he tries to steal the stamp back. Maurice tries to steal the stamp back. He just walks in while they're both having a bath together.
Yeah.
And then, he's just like, I hope you didn't have any sort of relation with that guy, because gosh, gee, he's dead. They're like, and Ray's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's dead. I didn't tell you to kill the man. I just told you to take the stamp. He's like, well, I got your stamp, but it's like this crazy long.
Yeah, and he's like,
And
I
it's
don't
like a
really
couple
see the
of, like,
relation. Yeah.
Decent postage
And then
stamps.
Ray tells Nikki, he's like, this is our time. I told him to steal the stamp so that I could give it to you, so I could get you a ring that you deserve. And you're thinking like, she's totally gonna fucking ditch this loser. And
Mhm.
she's like, oh, that is so romantic.
Also, you find out she has ice in her veins because her first reaction once she knows what's going on, she's like, "Oh, I guess we got to kill this guy."
She
Well,
starts
yeah.
counting. I love that.
That was
I-
fucking
She's got absolute ice in
crazy.
her veins, and she doesn't really think twice about it. She's like,
No,
"Oh well, yeah,
Mhm.
we got to kill that guy. I'm gonna go kill him right now."
But the way
Dude,
she does it, I thought she was like a secret agent or something like that. No, I thought that's what was going to happen. But she
Yeah.
starts counting because she knows how long it takes to get from their apartment to the front door of their building. And I
Yeah.
thought she had like counted this out because she like spent time in a service or something like that. But she's just a very protective person and knows kind of how to protect herself.
Well, she even
Yeah.
tells him, "Hey, this is ran under a assumed name."
Yeah, she's
Mhm.
used
Yeah.
a pseudonym and everything like that.
He
Yeah.
tells her,
It-
like, "Hun, that's a violation of your parole
I
It's a
love
violation of
that
your
line.
probation.
Yeah.
probation." It's like,
Oh my god.
Really?
So
Yeah.
good.
Now, I'll be honest with you. While I was watching the movie, I'm sure that you are meant to be primarily rooting for Gloria.
Mhm.
But I'm kind of rooting for them actually throughout most of the show.
Dude, they were
that's
such
what's
a
good about the show, because you're kind of rooming for Emmett and Cy too. You're like, well, they're not really bad guys. They've been put in a bad situation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Even Ray and well, maybe not so much rooting for uh Nikki Swangle, but Ray for sure, especially later when he has that when he has that interaction with Emmett, when he shows up with the stamp to give it to him.
Hmm.
You realize he's not really a bad guy. Ish.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. It's actually that scene is
They're all being sort of manipulated and letting their emotions get the
Yeah.
best of them.
the
Uh-huh.
scene where Emmett
Really
tries to
light
give
off
the
of.
stamp back to Ray, which leads to Ray's death, is actually one of the most frustrating and heartbreaking scenes of the entire
It is.
show.
'Cause you know it's gonna
Mhm.
fuck everything up.
Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
like, oh no, just
We're so
Like,
close.
yeah, just accept the stamp.
Yeah.
Let bygones be bygones. And Ray's like, no.
Bygones, you know.
Yeah, if I let you give me the stamp back, then that means that you've won, and I put so much into this, and now I can't go back.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go back. Take the stamp. I'm gonna steal it from you. And it's just like, oh my god, just take the fucking stamp.
Yeah,
Just accept.
yeah.
Don't. It's not a. Oh no. Oh, you got stabbed. Fuck.
Right, then he gets stabbed in the
Yeah.
neck. But you know the thing about Nikki Swangold, or is that her name?
Swango.
Swango, Swangold, Swango is you think that she's just manipulating what's his name the whole time, and she's just kind of in it for herself, and that's true, but she actually does really care about that
Yeah.
that guy that she's with.
He also has an ass that could crack a walnut, apparently.
Yeah, she's got
Yeah.
a real nutcracker back there. He's like,
Yeah.
gosh,
That
you know,
was
he
so
was right. You
fucking
got a real
funny.
nutcracker back there.
Nutcracker back here.
She's like, you've been
Talking to
about
your
my
boss
ass?
about my ass. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, actually,
Funny.
it is one of the most.
It even shows she's
unusual
horrible.
things.
She
Yeah.
Yeah.
actually, and
She
she
loves
is
Ray.
she is manipulating him into
Yes.
stealing the stamp. So she is bad, but she does really care about him.
He loves him enough to manipulate him.
She
Well,
loves
she
him
does-
to not leave him when
Yeah.
Yeah.
she has an opportunity to, you know.
She does all of the things. What's the way to say it? She does all of these things that she knows how to do, right? Because at the end of the day, she is a criminal and like she knows how to do
Yeah.
criminal stuff.
Yeah.
But everybody tries to warn Ray, like, this woman is just using you and all that shit. But the reality of the situation is, like, she may be manipulative just like in a natural sort of way, but at no point has she ever actually been unfaithful to Ray. She really,
Yeah.
really, truly loves him.
Yeah.
and
she's
it does make her
yeah.
endearing because of that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
so-
right. Because even when he asked her to marry him, she seems genuinely happy about it, and then says, "Hey, let's
Mhm.
make a sex tape."
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
she's
But she
like,
even says like, "I'm wearing a hooker wig."
I'm wearing
Yeah.
a hooker wig and you're
Yeah.
proposing. I gotta take
That's
this
one
thing
of the
off. Do it again.
Yeah.
That's one of the scenes that makes me, because before that they leave it a little bit open ended as to whether or not she's going to double cross him at some point.
Yep, I thought so.
And like kind of take the money and run, maybe. That's kind of what I was thinking. But it's that scene is one of the ones that makes you realize, oh, she actually she's still criminal, still a bad guy or bad person, still manipulative, but she does actually care about him, and they are sort of in this thing together,
hmm
you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know, for me, I was kind of rooting for them as a couple a lot of the time. Even when they're doing stuff like breaking into Emmett's house and stealing the stamp, I'm like, I want you to steal that stamp. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm strangely rooting for them.
And then she fucking oh god, that scene though where she sees the donkey and it pisses her off, so she fucking writes on it in her period blood and then puts
Yeah.
the tampon in his drawer.
That's pretty funny.
And then later
Oh, man.
later in the show, I think what's his name is in there, and he's like, why does it smell like a bathroom in your office?
Oh yeah, VM
Oh, yeah.
Varga.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Fargo is like, it smells like a bathroom in here. What's going on?
Why does it smell like a toilet?
Like a toilet. Yeah.
No, it's such a man. Fuck,
You know,
it's
and
such
it's
a
like,
great
of course, I was still rooting for Gloria too, but that's one thing I noticed about the show is that the protagonist of the show is not the only one that you're rooting for and thinking about. And at least through a lot of the show, I'm not really, like I said, I'm more rooting for like Emmett, or I'm more rooting for his brother, even more than I am Gloria at some parts in the show.
I mean, it's really a testament to the entire show that I mean, there is one in this particular season. There is one person that is just you love to hate him, and that's Varga.
Yeah, there's a
Even
clear
like
bad guy,
yeah,
right?
but
But then,
even Mimo and Yuri, you know, when they're doing things, I'm not like, oh, I hope they fail. I hope Yuri dies. You know, at no point was I like,
yeah,
they're likable characters. You know, they're really uh, you love to see them on the screen, and
hmm
there's no characters I think in the show that well, there's one character in the show, but other than him, there's no characters that um aren't endearing.
yeah,
The only character
yeah.
that I think the show could have done without is the deaf guy.
Okay,
Really?
we're getting into that.
Well,
We're
see,
getting into that.
He's necessary.
I think he's great.
I think
only
he is-
because
I don't
there's
think
just-
that he's. Well, yeah, we can talk about that if we're ready. but,
Mr.
you know,
Wrench, you mean?
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
there's a couple things I want to get into, and then we'll lead into that. Basically, the
Yeah.
last half of the season.
Well, it's the last
um,
3 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a couple. I want to draw attention to some of the cinematography again. There's a couple of shots that I really, really love. After the scene where the police are actually trying to get Nikki Swango, because at this point Ray's dead, and she's holed out in that motel waiting for him to come back with the getaway money. And she, again, this is a testament to how alert she is and how ready she is to be caught and basically screwed over. Is she's very, very careful. And so there's a scene here where like the room service knocks on her door and it's like midnight, and so she's already very cautious and like very wary. And then there's a shot where it shows it like pans across and she's reaching for the door handle, and then it pans to the outside, and then the new chief comes and kicks in the door. And it's just such a good transition where you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
kind of like a bunch of slow shots leading up into this, and then boom, he kicks the door in, and then they rush
well,
inside,
really
and
quickly,
she's trying to get out of the window.
Mima was, waiting to kill her anyways. So that's what
Mhm.
you're expecting.
Well,
right?
yeah,
So
you thought
she's-
that Mimo was gonna, but then Varga
He
calls
called him
off.
away, and he
Yeah.
gets called
Okay.
away. So you're not sure what's happening here exactly.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the because she actually gets all the way into the hotel room,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that and we're thinking that Mima's going to jump out and kill her, and then it ends up the police show up and arrest her.
Oh, that's right. He was actually in the hotel room anyway,
in the hotel
behind the door of
Yeah,
the
he had
bathroom,
walked
waiting for her to walk.
inside,
Yeah.
and then he got
Pretty
the
serious
call
threats.
from Varga to go
Mhm.
help assist with Ray, who had just been killed, and so he actually leaves the hotel room, and Nikki Swingo gets to live another day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is just
Yeah.
it makes sense. It's like a oh man, that was super close. We didn't lose both of them. That was the thing that I
Right.
was really worried about in that moment, was like, is this where both of these characters just like meet their end? Like Ray's already dead. Are we gonna nix Swango as well? Because you grow a real attachment to the characters. You know, you don't want
You
them to
do.
die. Any
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, before that-
it's heartbreaking when any of the characters actually bite it.
Mhm.
Remember before that, that's when VM Varga tells Mimo to find the brother and Swango, and then there's this pause. And he's all execute, and he just slowly
Yeah.
nods his head, and he
Right.
just cocks his gun and walks off. It's fucking great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's such a good moment, and it really, I love that because it's the first real look into how Varga runs his business.
Because he
Prior
says
to that-
find him, and he knows what he really means. He
Yeah,
just
yeah,
looks-
Yeah.
Prior to that, you only see the repercussions of like what Varga has ordered, but this is the first time you actually see the boss make an order and how the henchmen respond to it, and it's like the veil is finally lifted, and we get to see like how their operation really runs. It's really impressive.
Yeah. You know, he's I mean, he's like he runs this ship like a organized crime. I mean, it is organized crime.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
He's a mob boss,
Yeah.
basically.
So that brings us into the next bit of scenes here. So Nikki Swango is brought in for questioning, and she basically doesn't say anything. She asks for a
Right.
lawyer, and she VM Varga's still trying to get at her. And so there's this new guy who I assume is with the police force. They don't really tell you a lot about him, but he must have been with the police force because he tries to kill her from the inside. So either he's disguised or he already works for the police.
Yeah,
But
he's
he
one of
tries,
our
in
guys.
hell?
he tries to poison her
Yeah.
when she's in jail. Remember
Oh
when
yeah,
he
yeah.
like has her like handcuffed to the
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the syringe.
with the syringe. But then
Yeah.
Gloria Burgle comes in and breaks that up. And then it goes, and then at the end of that episode, she's actually put on a transport bus to some county jail or something like that.
A prison bus. Yeah.
And then VM Varga's henchmen have a trap set up where they have one of those. It looks like that movie prop where they flip cars over. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a rail basically, and it hits one of the axles of a car on one of its side and then flips it over. They have that set up in the middle of the road here, and like out in the middle of nowhere. And we get a shot of Yuri wearing his. He has
His
this like
fucking
wolf
signature
pelt.
wolf pelt.
Yeah.
It's his
Yeah.
mask. You know, it's his robbery mask basically.
Yeah.
But
So he's got this wolf pelt that where the head of the wolf is on top of his head and the teeth are hanging down onto his forehead. It's fucking badass. And of course he's wearing a fucking Adidas joggers suit. It just looks ridiculous.
Classic.
Like those bright red Adidas
Eastern
joggers.
European
Mhm.
trope right there. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they flip the prison bus and board it, and they're trying to break into the section where they have the inmates. And Nikki Swango is handcuffed to this other deaf inmate, and so they flip the car, and then she's passed out, but the deaf dude's trying to wake her up so they can get out. And he basically beats the shit out of the dude. I don't know this actor's name, but he's been in a million things as like the mousy guy.
Who is that guy?
I don't know.
He's in Man in the High Castle too. Yeah.
He's been in one of the Die Hard movies. He's like everywhere as like the hacker. There's some movie in, I can't remember what it is, but he's like, he always wants hot pockets, and he's their hacker. Yeah, this dude's in it, and so he goes over to like go over and finish off Nikki Swango, but he gets the shit kicked out of him by the deaf dude. And at this time too, Mimo is actually like they get found by a passing family.
Yep.
Or this husband and wife in a minivan, which is also like such a sad. Yeah, it's a
direct reference to the original Fargo as well, because the same exact thing happens. Crime is going on the road. Couple drives past it, sees what's going on very clearly, and then it's like, oh fuck, let's drive away. And then they get chased down by one of the accomplices and murdered.
Mm-hmm. And it's sad too because they're listening to Christmas music and passing by, so it's kind of like, again, it's that black comedy that Fargo's so good at, and you're just like, oh man, these people are gonna die because Mimo's chasing them and he kills people, and so you know that
really quickly
killed.
Speaking of cinematography, so this movie called The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward, whatever Ford or whatever. It's a Brad Pitt movie, came out in 2007. Roger Deakins was a cinematographer on that film. So that part where they're up in the trees and you see the light passing over him and he's got that skull is like directly from that movie.
Oh, really?
There's a part where they rob a train, and it's so beautiful. There's a part where they just look it up on YouTube when you get a chance. The train robbery from The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert, whatever, Ford. I think
Oh yeah, I know what movie you're talking
but
about.
there's that. So the train's coming on the tracks, and they show these guys all up in the trees, and the lights passing by them. And they all have masks on and stuff. And so when I saw that part, I was like, "Oh man, they had to have been inspired by this part from that film." Just speaking of the beautiful cinematography.
Yeah,
of the show.
So regrettably, I think this is where the Nikki Swingo subplot. It's good. So this is what I want to say about it. It is great, entertaining storytelling.
Yeah.
It would be if it wasn't Fargo specifically. And this is the challenge that we run into in this particular set of cases, because what happens is that the deaf guy happens to be like, you know, he must have been like in jail for assault or murder or something, because he's very clearly like super strong and kind of a brute of a man. He rips the fucking cuffs out of the bolt. He kicks out the back door. He's already beaten up somebody, and he's like dragging Nikki Swango into the woods to try to escape because obviously he doesn't want to die, and all that makes perfect sense. Like from like a, I understand where you're coming from, guy. The the issue that I have with what follows after that is that suddenly we enter into the realm of action movie territory, and we're no longer in the world of realistic crime, which Fargo is really, which I think Fargo is like does its best in, and that's what I really have an issue with her subplot after this point, because basically what happens is you get this like granted really cool chase sequence through the woods. There's a really funny moment where
Well, hold on. These are some of my favorite scenes, so I want Jeremy to be here because he's an action movie dude. I want to see what he thought about this stuff too. But this is what I was building up into.
But these scenes are terrible for the
I
show.
love these scenes.
These
I
scenes
think
are
they're
the
great for
worst
the show.
scenes in the show. I think you're absolutely wrong. I think that
Think so?
Oh, I
These-
think
this
these
is literally-
these scenes are incredible.
this is literally
like my
the
favorite part of
worst
the show.
possible thing that you could do with Fargo.
No, I disagree with you completely. This is
You're
so
talking about-
good.
Like the where they obviously kill these two hunters and steal their crossbows.
Wait. Hold
I'm
on.
not-
We're getting to
yeah,
that. We're getting to
so-
that. We're getting to
Yeah,
that.
go.
So
Jeremy's back,
Jeremy-
and I can explain to you very patiently why, even though they're entertaining scenes, they're terrible.
Surprised. All right, so we're talking about the
first thing I heard is my name. When
yeah, I
put
was
these
waiting for
headphones
you.
on.
So we're talking about the scenes here in the woods after they escape from the prison bus, and
Mhm.
they kill, or okay, well basically yeah, they're being pursued by Yuri and this long nosed dude, and
And
it
Mimo.
takes no the
Actually,
long
Mimo
nosed
found
dude.
it.
I don't know who the
No,
long
Mimo
nosed.
has to go kill the people who saw them.
Yeah,
Right.
so the
He's
long
not
nosed weasel dude, and Yuri are chasing Nikki Swango and the deaf dude.
Yep.
And I think these are incredible scenes because one, they're beautifully shot again, and there's some really cool stuff that happens in it. So at some point they actually do lose Yuri and the long nosed dude, and it takes them like a day. So they escape at night. There's an entire day sequence, and then they
it's
get caught up at the
daytime
night
now.
again. But here's a great question for you, and this is why I love Fargo, and this is why some of these scenes are my favorite, and why I think it really challenges tropes that are set forward. So in a lot of scenes like this, somebody has to get a weapon. How do you do that? For the most part, from what I can remember, they'll in this particular sequence, it's like, okay, I need a weapon to go kill these people. Hey,
Yeah.
there's a random group of people. I'm going to go over there and take their weapons or something like that, or a machete or something like that. Whatever they got.
Yeah.
An axe. In this show, Yuri's talking to the long-nosed dude about a tattoo that he has on his wrist. He's like, what is it, Helga or something like that? Like,
Olga,
Mhm.
yeah.
oh, I knew
I knew
Helga
an
once.
Olga.
An Olga. Yeah, and then they're talking about like that. And then out of nowhere, this crossbow bolt goes right between the eyes of the wolf
that's right.
that Yuri has on his head and pins it to
Yeah.
a tree. And you're just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck just happened? You're like, oh my God, Nikki and that guy. No, it's a
It's a
hunter and
random
his
hunter
son.
couple, yeah.
And the son's like, I think I got him, Dad. And they're running up the
Yeah.
hill. And you're
Mhm.
like, oh my God, they almost just got poached.
Yeah.
And then they
Yeah.
catch up. And then Yuri comes out from like out of the bushes behind them. And he's got like this murderous look on his face. And you're just like, oh, these people are going to die. And then the next shot is the long-nosed dude and Yuri walking with their crossbows.
Yeah.
That's what Fargo does so well. It's like, if you're going to give these characters weapons and they don't have weapons before, how are you going to do that? And Fargo answers it and delivers in such a Fargo way. And it is so good.
And I agree that is a very Fargo happenstance, you know, because Fargo, there's a lot of coincidences that happen in Fargo that
Very
feel-
Fargo-y.
Yeah,
It's very
there's
Fargo-y.
they feel
Yeah.
very realistic. Like, yeah, like a hunter sees a guy wearing a fucking wolf pelt, thinks it's a wolf, and shoots at it with a crossbow. Like, that's something that would happen in real life, and therefore it it translates well into the Fargo universe. Here are the key challenges that I have with this particular sequence of events. A, Yuri and the rat face guy are
Poor
actually
rat face guy.
Yeah, I know, right? He deserves he deserves.
He
to
looks
have
like a
name.
rodent. He's not a great supervillain.
He plays a rodent in every fucking thing that he's in too.
It's
Yeah.
the nose,
He's
man.
actually in Breaking Bad.
Oh,
Is he?
Undercover cop. He arrests.
He arrests Badger.
Badger. Yeah.
He arrests Badger. Yes, that's right. I have seen him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
Well, he's in a lot of shit, but basically, so these guys are hunting down the deaf dude and Nikki. The scene that introduces this, this is the problem, is that I think too much about like the established way that the universe works. And in this scene, they're standing on a hillside. They're like half a football field away from Nikki and the deaf guy, and they finally caught up to them, and they're watching them through binoculars, and they see them go into the woods, and then they look at each other, and they like, you know, they start talking about Olga. And as soon as that happened, I was like, that's really weird. So I mean, this is a wide open field, and these guys have been running directly across it, and then they basically must have just been sitting here on this hill, watching them slowly cross this open field. Well, I guess that was when they could have just went and grabbed him, because it's two strong guys versus one strong guy and a weak girl. That's pretty odd. And that was that was all it was. I was just like, that's kind of odd. I don't know. I also felt that way earlier, and I didn't think that the show was bad or anything when they went to Las Angeles, because I was like, Fargo doesn't take place in Los Angeles. This is just like an excuse for Hollywood to put Los Angeles into something like they do all the time. And then like it turned out to be a really interesting plot. So I was like, actually, that was really good. And they didn't even make Los Angeles seem like a great place. So like, I'm not mad about that. This situation though, it gets worse because they get the cross bolts and stuff, and I didn't have any problem with that. I was like, oh, that's cool. They got cross bolts now. This is going to be really bad for the deaf guy and Nikki.
I'm sorry, they have what?
The crossbows?
Crossbolts, Dad.
Crossbolts?
You know,
yeah, when you take two bolts and you cross them.
The crossbows. The crossbows that fire cross bolts. Sorry.
That's not all right.
They're called bolts.
They are bolts. They are bolts. I just like how you're calling them cross bolts.
Because they're bolts that go into crossbows. What do you want from me?
Bone apple tea.
Yeah, bone apple tea. Bone atrophy. Osteoporosis. So basically, then they get these weapons, and that sequence is actually really good, and I like that a lot. That I totally agree. That's something that Fargo does really well. But the next scene, where they've been running and it's nighttime, and I get that it's taking a long time and whatever. They finally catch up. They get to this like clearing where there's a fucking axe like embedded into a tree stump. Like clearly some logger has been here or something.
It's the hunter and his son actually.
It may have been the hunter and his son's.
It was the bodies that they have hung from the trees.
Target practice.
Yeah. That's where the son.
Oh well, I know that they were shooting at the hunter and his son, but I don't know that the axe specifically was from them.
It doesn't matter.
It's in the area. It doesn't matter. There's an axe and a fucking tree stump, and they know that those people are around. So they're like, "Oh shit, this is bad." This is where the show just enters into this realm of absolute like, why did you choose to make this action scene the way that it was? Rat Boy runs out of the trees at both of them on his own and tries to fight them, even though he's got a broken nose already. He starts losing to the deaf guy, but then Yuri shoots at the girl and hits her in the ankle with the bolt from his crossbow. And she's like, "Ow, fuck my ankle." And you're like, oh shit, she went down. And they start shooting more at the deaf guy. And then the deaf guy is just like, oh, I got this. Grabs the axe off the tree stump and throws it into the woods. And you just hear like a clunk. And then the bolts stop flying. And they both grab their chains because they're chained together.
Love this.
They put it around Rat Boy's neck on the tree stump. And they pull really hard. And Rat Boy gets decapitated.
Yeah, fucking awesome, dude.
That is so stupid.
Hold on. Finish your train of thought now, and I'll explain to you why I love these scenes.
That scene is absolute fucking garbage. I mean, why they cannot
when they do it, like, did you just see that?
You cannot decapitate somebody by wrapping fucking rusty chains around their neck. It's not possible. No, especially as cleanly as it happens.
Not really, no, but it doesn't.
And
matter.
like, I would be fine. I would honestly be fine with them throwing an axe. And yeah, it injured Yuri. And like, even though that is like crazy that this deaf guy managed to do that and throw an axe, regardless of the idea that the deaf guy would be able to be quiet enough to escape from Yuri and the Rat Boy guy in the first place in the woods, even though he's telling Nikki to be quiet while they're running away, whatever. I can forgive all of that. But the idea that this guy throws an axe, takes off Yuri's ear, and then decapitates another guy with the chains with Nikki's help, and then breaks the chains open so that they can be separated from each other. And then Nikki's still able to walk after being shot through the fucking ankle with a bolt. What the hell happened to the writing?
I totally don't agree. I mean, yeah. I agree with maybe this stuff is over the top ridiculous, but that's Fargo.
That's not Fargo.
It is Fargo.
I think it totally works.
It's not Fargo. It's not. Fargo is realistic crime.
And I personally didn't care. I didn't care about all this.
Okay, well, let me
really quickly.
Okay.
I have problems with the Nikki Swangle, Mr. Wrench. They're tiny problems, and that comes way later. This is not my problem with it at all.
This is where the problem starts, and it only gets worse because they're just like, oh, well, we were able to get away with this action scene, so let's just make things even crazier later on. It absolutely jumped the shark for me here.
I would venture to say if you, okay, well, so for me, when you can excuse it as, oh, well, they explain this away because she's counting, but let's be real, man. The fact that they just dropped that AC unit on that dude's head earlier on and it just landed perfectly, like no big deal, because she was counting. How does she know? Like, you know what I'm saying? If we're going to go down the
right to the window, is he at the window?
Yeah. How would she know how many steps it took to get to right where that spot was, where they could, obviously that's ridiculous, right? That they dropped an AC unit on this dude's head.
It's movies.
I also want to point out that he got his shirt cut on the banister, which slowed him down. And he also just stood in the doorway. So I see your point here, Jeremy. It doesn't make sense, but I still.
Yeah, it doesn't, for me, it's like, when they dropped the AC unit on this dude's head, that's when I knew, okay, the way people get murdered in this show is ridiculous.
I mean, for instance, the movie, they put a dude in a wood chipper.
Yeah. I mean,
right, but that's not unrealistic. The guy's got
the AC unit is unrealistic as hell.
No, so all right, here's
death by appliance.
Let me explain. Let me explain the difference, though, because there is a difference here, and it's nuanced, and it's challenging to do this writing. I can't fault them for having a very challenging task before them, as far as doing a good job writing this show. But the difference there is that she's counting, and the guy's walking down the stairs, and you can tell that he's getting held up with things, and so there's a lot of tension that's built between like, is her counting actually going to matter? Because this guy's stopped a couple times and, he's like doing a cigarette and whatever. And you're like building up tension. And then he stops in front of the building and is like taking a couple drags off of his cigarette right as they're like ready to push the air conditioning thing. And Nikki didn't even finish unscrewing it. He actually has to kick it out or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, first of all, when somebody smokes a cigarette, they oftentimes will stop outside of the front of the building. Second of all, her counting was not completely accurate. Like, it was kind of close, but because
I don't think it had to be.
Yeah. So there was a lot of.
Hold on. Yeah. She sends Ray to the window and says, "Is he down there?"
Yeah. So exactly. Those are all realistic. Those are all realistic little tidbits that make that scene work well. The challenge with the scene in the woods is that there was no reason to have it. I mean, if there was no reason to have them decapitate Rat Boy. He could have just been strangled, which would have worked just as well.
Yeah.
They could have used the axe to cut their chains open, like, after hitting it multiple times. I know they hit it a couple of times, and then he's able to like bend the chains open. But like why make this deaf guy a Mary Sue? Why is he this like superhuman guy that can do anything?
I can tell you right now, he wouldn't be able to pull the chain off in the even with it broken, he would be able to pull that chain off.
I know. So
he would be able to pull it off in the woods. So, but I mean, I also
why do that? There's nothing else prior to this that's as unrealistic as that. There's stuff that's super.
I think the AC unit. You're right. That's more unrealistic than dropping the AC unit on the dude's head. But again, this to me, what I was trying to say is, I feel like when they did that, I realized that I'm in for a show that is going to take a lot of liberties with the way people die. And it's going to be very stylistic. People are going to get killed and murdered in very stylistic, sort of over-the-top ways. And I agree that the decapitation via the chains, that's got to be probably the most unrealistic way that someone dies in the show.
Completely impossible.
But to me, it wasn't completely out of the realm of what they already established. That some people just get murdered in really kind of zany, stylistic ways.
But then
you know.
they follow that up. They follow that particular scene up with the bowling alley scene. And this is where I just felt like, what the hell are they doing with a show with a concept of Fargo, which is realistic crime. It's based on a true story. These are real events where suddenly they have somebody gets decapitated by fucking chains, and they immediately follow that up with purgatory. What the hell are they doing?
Okay, hold on. I want to go
Yeah, we
back
gotta
to
talk
the
about that whole
the
bowling
forest
alley
scene.
thing
Yes,
too,
this
for
is
sure.
important too. But with the forest scene and why I think it works so well is I think it's I've seen all of season 1 and most of season 2. I don't think we finished it, Dad. But people do die in ridiculous ways in Fargo. And that was maybe because it just kind of got set up in season 1 for me. There's
Now,
some
granted, I haven't
ridiculous
seen
things.
the other seasons of
True.
Fargo.
Yeah, this is where I think
haven't
Noah
either.
Hawley, who's the writer for the show, takes his creative freedom and shifts it a little bit away from the movie, because people do die. Ridiculous things happen in a very realistic world. And so when I'm watching these scenes, I think this is great. This is like top, at least in my mind, Noah Hawley for Fargo. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, and the thing though too is like why they don't go chasing after them in the middle of the day when they see them crossing the field, and why they're kind of, it seems like they're toying with them, at the end when they finally get their comeuppance, is we're getting into the part of the show where the bad guys start losing because of their own hubris. They're very obviously toying with Nikki and the deaf dude, because I mean that long nosed dude just comes running out of the woods and then slices the deaf dude down the back, and runs off in the woods again. They're scaring them and messing with them. And I think that's why they don't go chasing after them in the middle of the day, because they're just like, all right, we know where they're going. We'll catch up to them and fuck with them later. Because they think they're on top of everything. They're so used to being in control that they don't know what to do when things start failing. And we get into this when VM Vargas starts losing his grip later in the show too, because he starts gasping for air with the scene with Nikki Swengo. Even though it seems like he's on top of his game, he's not. He doesn't know what he's dealing with, because it's never anything that he's ever dealt with before. So when you have this death scene where they finally get a hold of the long nosed dude, he looks shocked. Like when they're about to cut his head off, like the expression on his face is shocked because he's about to get decapitated. But I'm sure, like he's shocked that he's about to die. And then the deaf dude and then Nikki Swengo are shocked that they were actually able to decapitate this dude on a tree stump. And I thought that scene was like so ridiculous. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And especially the fact that the dude just like chucks an axe into nothing and somehow happens to cut off Yuri's ear. I was like, this is amazing. It's like, again, but we've also brought up that in particular, we've already established that things happen coincidentally. We have the story that the new chief tells Gloria Bergel, and then there's just a lot of things with coincidence, and that's what they try to build it up on. That's why they try to make that murder plot later in the next couple episodes and stuff.
Here's the challenge with this is that they're telling a very challenging story. It's a very difficult thing to get right. And the fact that they did 7 episodes of it so perfectly makes the 8th episode, where there's this fucking forest decapitation, feel like you were nailing this. You were able to ride the line of like coincidence meets reality so well. And then for some reason you decided that handcuffs are able to cleanly decapitate a human when we've shown messy murders before. I don't know why you chose to have him get decapitated. I mean, I wouldn't have. Yeah, go ahead.
I could jump in here. It for entertainment purposes, strictly for entertainment purposes. I know what you're saying.
And this is the problem, is that it's not entertaining for me because it breaks the rules of the universe.
It worked for me. This is the equivalent of the shark jumping out at the end of Jaws and looking completely like a giant cigar. And people have, I have this argument all the time. People are like, oh no, I'm like, no, you guys, the shark always looked like shit, but you were in, so it worked for you. Or if you weren't in, then it didn't work for you. And this is the equivalent of that. Ben, like all 3 of us, it worked for me. Like I agree with you. You can't decapitate someone with a chain. It was totally ridiculous. But I was in, and I totally forgave it. I was like, you know what? It's just fun. We're having fun now. It would just have ridiculous murders. I'm fine with it. It didn't bother me at all.
I did have a much more mild reaction to I think
I thought it was just
what
funny.
Ben like had in
Yeah.
the sense that when they decapitated the guy with the chain, I was like, wait, what? Like
You
I
can't do
definitely
that.
did
We all
have
know that.
I did have a moment where I was like, that makes no sense, even for this
But
universe of wacky deaths. That one was really weird.
really quickly,
Then
all the time
I forgot
movies
about
would
it.
end. 99.9% of movies all would end in the real world because someone go, "Hey, dude, don't go do that," or "That's dumb."
But this
Be
is
careful,
the beauty of
duck, and then the
Fargo.
whole
Fargo, like we just
TV
talked
show's
about
done,
earlier,
movie's done.
the thing that makes Fargo so unique and so spectacular is that it feels like a real story, even though the coincidences are crazy. They are realistic enough to feel like, hey, maybe this is something that really could happen. Maybe this is really a true story that like is being retold. And that's why every episode starts with this is a true story that's being retold. And so when you start doing things that leave the realm of maybe to okay, well obviously this is just entertainment. For me, somebody that believes in the universe that they have created and feels like they've done such a respectable job of standing by their you know their guns as far as like this like we're telling like a realistic story when they
Yeah.
start to do these things that go way off the rails, then it's like why even have the title card? And it's
This
and
is
it's
a
not, but this is the
This
thing,
is a-
this is the thing. The problem is that it's not just it's not just one instance. This is the first instance, but then we follow that up immediately with the purgatory scene, and I have no justification for why the purgatory scene happens. It doesn't make any sense within the context of Fargo the universe.
really quickly. I'm not arguing with you or arguing you.
Mhm.
I'm saying at this point, this is a subjective opinion on all of our parts. This is again, like I always say all the time, the beauty of
Right,
art.
and my only point is that this is the first
for
violation
me.
of the rules of Fargo, and you
Mhm.
guys agree. You say that it's entertaining, so it works, which is fine. I'm
That didn't bother
totally
me.
happy with that.
Yeah.
I moved right on
I'm
past
fine
it.
with that, but for me,
Yeah.
it's just like this is this. All I'm saying is that this was the first violation, of which in Nikki Swango's plot specifically, there are suddenly many that follow right after this. And we should talk about the purgatory scene next because
Oh yeah.
as beautiful of a scene as it is, don't get me wrong, I actually think it's a really great scene. Why does it make sense in the Fargo universe? I don't get it.
Oh, so I don't think it makes sense. I mean, it kind of comes out of nowhere. But I think
yeah.
again, this is Noah Hawley's creative, writing here. Again, I wonder if you would like the first season, because the first season does not deal with organized crime. It deals with a lot of like the same plot points as the movie does. It feels very contrived, or not contrived in a bad way, but very influenced by. Go ahead.
Really,
Doug.
really quick. This is just one of those things where they took a chance at something and it's going to work for some people and not work for others. You
And
know,
I actually didn't have that much of an issue with the purgatory scene. I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was beautifully shot. I loved
Yeah.
that. What's that guy's name? Alex.
Oh yeah, the Tuesday guy.
The dude that's in How I Met Your Mother. What's his name? The old
Alex?
guy. That.
but yeah,
he's
he's also
talking
the
to.
guy that's on the plane earlier that talks to Lori Bird.
Yeah. And so you
Yeah.
learn that he is actually a Jewish angel or whatever. And like, that's all they really need to tell you. Like, if they're gonna do a purgatory scene, they did a really good job at it. I thought it was a little bit weird that they had a scene like this in something that opens with this is a real story. You know, these are real people. This are real events.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I don't, like I said, I don't disagree with you. I think this is a artistic license thing.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
that
either gonna work for
particular
you or
one
it's
is
not.
fine, but it's just like it's all I'm saying is that for me,
I totally hear you.
what I
yeah.
saw was it's compounding. They basically jumped the shark, and they followed the school of thought that like if you're gonna jump the shark, just keep going.
Hold on. Jumping the shark, though, was a very powerful phrase. It means it ruined the whole show for you, and it's over.
That's
And
not
you-
what jumping the shark means at
That's
all.
absolutely what it
I
means.
think that I
Hold on.
agree. Yeah, actually, yeah.
I was there for jumping the shark. I remember when Fonzie jumped those sharks.
Happy days.
Remember, I'm about 40 years
Yeah.
old.
Well, I mean,
I
yeah, I
remember
know,
that
I
was
know
never
that.
Wait,
really
I
the
wanna
same
read it.
after that.
I want to
Yeah, go
read
ahead.
it. Okay. So it's not any. It doesn't have anything to do with ruining the show. It says of a television series or movie reach a point at which far-fetched events are included merely for the sake of novelty, indicative of a decline in quality. Okay, indicative. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to end it, but it may be about the ending of the quality of a show.
And so that for me is exactly what happened. They did jump the shark because they should not have decapitated that guy. They decapitated the guy, and to me, I'm like, okay, well, I guess reality isn't as important in this universe as I thought. The last 7 episodes were very realistic, and like all of the things had real consequences, and all of the happenstance, all the action, everything felt very real, like very real. There's a scene where the girl has to go get documents from the fucking guy on the 2nd floor.
Oh yeah,
just so that she's allowed to get into the prison cell where she finds Ratface trying to stab the.
But you need the blue paper, and then when you get the white paper signed by your chief, then we'll give you the orange paper.
Fine. You know, it's like that guy must have done it. But it's
not,
like
the original movie has none of this.
Yes, it does. What the fuck are you talking about? Fargo, the original movie, is exactly like that. It's all about
no.
being a realistic crime drama.
I'm agreeing with you. The original movie doesn't have any purgatory scenes. Is what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have any weird shit.
I thought you were saying that it doesn't have.
Ben
any
is about to
realistic
fucking
stuff.
book a ticket.
I was about to be like, "Are you kidding me?" Listen, Jerry Lundegaard,
right? Because you're right. The original movie is totally based in reality. You know, there's nothing too over the top.
So much so that this Asian girl
reference
went into the fucking into the woods to try to find the $1 million because she thought it was legit. Yeah,
I think this is a different creator taking artistic license, and it either worked for you or not, which is why we should not talk about it anymore and move on.
Wait.
This is.
Well, no, I just want to point out.
Yeah.
I want to point out the ultimate point.
I just don't want to get mired in this.
No. This
is going to be circular.
This is, and it's still a good show. I like the show, but this is just something that I think needs to be understood about the show is that at the end, you have Nikki Swango's subplot specifically, where they decapitate a guy with prison chains. They go through a purgatory sequence where Yuri suddenly gets killed by all the people he wronged in Ukraine. Ray is brought back to life as a cat. Nikki Swango and this deaf dude then single-handedly kill every single mercenary that.
Hold on, he's got a name.
Oh yeah, what
is the
name?
deaf guy's name?
Mr. Wrench.
Okay.
Oh, okay, Mr. Wrench.
So
I like
Nikki
that better than
Swango
Deaf Guy.
and Mr. Wrench, and honestly, the scene where Nikki Swango and Mr. Wrench outmaneuver Mimo and VM Varga, I was fine with that scene. That didn't feel like it was too much. But the scene where Mr. Wrench single-handedly kills Mimo and 6 other mercenaries was that was just like, okay, that's another thing to add to the pile. And then finally, Mr. Wrench goes like after Nikki Swango is very credibly given a realistic death because she gets in over her head in like the state trooper and everything. She shoots the state trooper with the shotgun. He shoots her with the bullet. Okay, like great, that's great. But then Mr. Wrench out of nowhere shows up 5 years later in the house of
Emmett's
and shoots him with the silencer in the next room, even though silencers, we know that's not how they work in real life. I was just like, God damn it. You have an almost perfect realistic depiction of organized crime and just crime in real life in general. And then you've got these 4 things that are just so glaringly action movie that it's like, God, they just stand out so much in comparison to the rest of the story.
Narratively speaking, it's my biggest problem with the ending. Killing Emmett Stussy. I felt it was unnecessary. Narratively speaking, it was unnecessary. It made
was weird.
Especially 5 years later.
Well,
yeah,
guy has paid his, if you will, he's paid his debt to society or whatever.
That guy got fucked over.
Yeah, he should have been.
We've redeemed him as best we can. Size, in a wheelchair. They're having for Mr. Wrench to come back after he's gotten his money from Nikki 5 years earlier. To come back 5 years later made no fucking sense.
No.
I'll agree with you that. That was my biggest problem with the whole Nikki Swango, Mr. Wrench thing. I was okay with all the other stuff. Like I said, I'm not agreeing with you, Ben, because you're right. For the what's the name of this fucking show? Fargo World. It doesn't make sense. And it feels out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere. Again, for me personally, it didn't bother me. It worked. Like when they go to the storage place, and then like right after, Gloria Bergel pulls her resignation and goes up there, and they already have the pictures of, oh, this is who did it, and this is it, and this is convenient storytelling devices to me. You know what I mean? Because I feel like they're just like, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up. So it didn't bother me. You're not wrong, but emotionally, it didn't bother me. I was okay with it.
I guess the only thing
Yeah.
that, like, this is just stuff that really stood out to me. The only thing that emotionally really bothered me is that Mimo dies off screen to this fucking Mr. Wrench guy who I already had a bad taste in my mouth about because, like, why is he a Mary Sue?
Well, okay, so to that point, I always thought
Hey, Gina.
that
How's it going?
that Mr. Wrench. The thing is, we don't know why he's on a prison transport bus.
That's true.
They never tell you why, and so I always thought that Mr. Wrench is actually this like like Mr. Wrench is actually like some kind of pro assassin or whatever, and they let you believe that because they let you kind of believe whatever you want about Mr. Wrench. You don't know why he was on the transport bus. You don't know what he was in there for.
It's best
So
that they don't explain it either.
Yeah, and
think
I
so,
like
too.
Well,
that
yeah,
they don't
'cause
explain
any
it because then
there's no
Mr.
explanation that
Wrench
would be good enough.
goes out and fucks up all these guys single handedly. Even when he takes care of those two dudes in the bus, right? And he's like tossing them around immediately.
He's got a fantastic fringe jacket, by the way.
Yes,
True.
and his
Yeah,
awesome
that
fringe
is a
jacket.
nice suede.
He is very
fringe jacket.
I
stylistic.
immediately
yeah.
thought, oh well, Mr. Wrench. They never say it outright, but I'm like, oh well, Mr. Wrench is clearly on the prison transport bus because he's a
Must have
he's a
killed
fucking assassin.
Yeah, and
You know what I mean?
and
Which
yeah,
explains later.
the Canadian actor guy, the old dude that's also Jewish angel or whatever. It's like
Yeah,
that man has a lot of sins to atone for, but clearly God wants him to, survive longer it's like he basically kind of offhandedly says like that dude is definitely bad news, but
yeah,
use
and
him
that's kind of
for-
why
Really
with Mr.
quick.
Wrench being a Mary Sue, I kind of always chalk that up to be he can kind of be whatever he needs to
If
be.
you're gonna
because
have
he's
a
on
Mary
that prin-
Sue,
prison
that's not the
transport
worst
bus
way to
for
do
some
it.
reason.
Not the worst way. I
You
like
know.
how they bring him in at the end. I think that was a smart idea.
Yeah,
Bring him at
Really
the end.
quick, maybe it's not a Fargo world thing. Maybe it's an Ethan and Joel Cohen world thing.
The purgatory scene?
Because
What are you talking about?
yes, because and I'll tell you why. Because
I was gonna get
of
to this.
the narrator from The Big Lebowski.
That's what I was gonna say. Bowling alley, and then you have the narrator. They both show up in the bowling alley. What's the dude's name? The cowboy dude. What's his name?
Sam Elliott.
Sam
Elliott.
Elliott. Thank you. They
Thank
have
you.
that scene where they go and talk to him.
He's
and realize
obviously-
that he's the narrator. Yeah.
Something I can't think of the word right now. What do you call it? Because I'm two very tall art loos in. But
You're an
yeah,
artist.
maybe it's a Joel and Ethan Cohen thing, right?
That's
And not
true, yeah.
necessarily
Not even just
a-
that, but like it's an homage to their most famous movie.
And I'll admit, I'm very forgiving of this stuff that happened. Like I said, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, Ben, but I'm very forgiving of it because the show is so fucking good.
I mean,
Right.
the show is
So fucking
phenomenal.
good.
Don't get me wrong. And like I
That
said, it's just
It
Nikki
feels like they're
Fuego.
wrapping it up at the end, kind of
Mhm.
rushing
And they
it.
didn't,
does.
and
Okay with it.
because
Okay
they've
with it.
because they're writing on the tip of a pin needle. I mean, like in order to make a realistic world work and be entertaining, it's like probably one of the most insurmountable challenges of actual writing. That's why there's so many movies that are just like, fuck reality. Like we get convenience. Come on, convenience makes good stories, which is what most I think producers would probably tell you. But like Fargo is like, no, we can do this. We can make a realistic story if we try really hard. We can do this, and we'll cut some corners, but they won't feel noticeable, and like you can still explain it away with reality. So it's all good. It's all good. We made it 7 episodes. They were 7 hours into this series. Well, they're in the woods, and Nikki's got a bolt in her ankle, and then
I loved all of it. I would I admit I love.
you know
I thought-
what?
I thought it
The
worked.
people want a decapitation. Let's give them a decapitation. It's just-
I love that decapitation.
I don't
I know
disagree that it
with
was
you-
cool.
I'm
It
with
just
you,
wasn't
Ben.
Right.
I felt everything that you felt as well. I made the same observations, but then I forgot about it. It wasn't like I
and
was
I liked
totally.
it. I liked the
it wasn't like
series. Don't get me wrong.
I
liked
wasn't
it.
necessarily
Of
in the
course, of
camp
course.
of I totally love this. Like no, it was weird for me
I
too.
just didn't
and
care. I
it
didn't care
was weird
when
for me too.
when they decapitated with a chain. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And that in the back of my mind, I said that, and then I moved on instantly. I didn't care.
You know what? It felt like
when
to
he pulls
me-
the chain, you guys, I know chains.
He's a
I'm in
chain
business.
guy.
He's a chain guy.
Yeah.
You can't, even if the link is broken, you're not pulling that fucking thing open. I
No,
don't
God,
care if
no.
you're wearing a leather fringe jacket or not.
Aw,
It-
But
it's
what
hard-
if you go?
they're
You make the
hardened.
right face.
But again, like I said, I
but
go
wait,
into
wait, wait.
almost
Have
all
you ever
movies-
seen a deaf
really
man
quick,
do it? Because they can do that.
That's true. They don't have to hear the
like
change.
extra senses or something. Like
Yeah, they have this one
Yeah.
sense cut out so they can be stronger with their muscles. But I go to all movies this way, honestly, where I expect a certain amount of ridiculousness, even as much of a contrarian as I appear to be. I go into a movie with or TV show or anything with a certain amount of ridiculous because I know all this stuff could be shut down in the first 5 minutes by someone just going, I'm not going to go do that. Fucking movie's over.
Yeah.
Right.
They never do, right?
Sure.
Because you think about it too, it's like, how is Emmett and Cy made it this far in their lives without ever fucking up this bad? Ray, how's Ray made it to his mid 40s as someone in their late 40s, actually? At this point in my life, I'm not making any more stupid shit. I avoid stupid shit. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I go into every movie, every TV show, everything, knowing there's going to be a certain amount of ridiculousness, bullshit that could never happen, on and on and on. So, but again, also, if I like something too, or even love it the way I love this show, I'm ready to buy. This is the shark again jumping out of the boat.
Well, and I just want to
Doesn't bother me.
I want to clarify that I do think the show is really good. I think that the ending is very satisfying, and actually more satisfying than the ending of the original Fargo, because the thing about realistic stories is that they generally don't have very satisfying endings. But all like the whole
it's tough to wrap up.
Yeah,
it's tough to wrap up.
It's tough to wrap something like this up, but to me, it really felt like an FX executive kind of got in there and was just like, well, it'd be cool. And like the writers of the show were like, but that's not, I mean, that's like that's not really Fargo. You know what I mean? Like that's not like what makes that, like we're doing just fine. And they're like, yeah, but gosh, wouldn't it just be so cool? Wouldn't it just be so cool?
Well,
like there was somebody on the fucking staff that was just saying,
maybe new chief did
so
it.
Cool?
And the new chief, yeah.
And the idea that oh, it's cool, so it works. It's like, no, but I noticed it. And god damn it, when I notice something, I can't not think about it.
Of
and
course.
Now you've pulled me out of the story just a little bit. And now I start asking questions. And once I start asking questions, I start noticing all the stupid shit that you've done. And then I think, how did I not notice this 7 episodes ago when you guys were doing a good job? What did you do now? And that's where I get frustrated with it.
I mean, it's completely valid. And like we've been saying, like, I do understand, like, I remember when we watched that scene for the first time, we're like, holy shit. Like, okay, that's, yeah, like my dad said, like, yeah, that's ridiculous. And then they keep going and you're just like, all right. And then especially when they get to
forget about it.
Purgatory scene.
You're like, all right, moving on.
Yeah. But speaking of moving on, I think we're getting pretty close to the end.
Yeah, no, we should talk about the ending because we've
really
talked
quickly, because then you see, because Yuri sees all the people that
he killed,
the Cossacks have killed or whatever,
Mhm.
and then we never see him again.
Yeah, he's just gone.
He's gone.
He didn't
That
make it
is
out of
like-
purgatory.
So that was my question. I was like, did I miss something? Because then I actually went back and rewatched it. And I'm like, okay, I didn't miss anything. He's just gone now.
Right.
Like I said, it's a purgatory scene. They are in purgatory. They have died. All right. And this angel or whatever it is releasing him back into the world to keep doing the Lord's will, if you will. And Yuri gets to go to hell, though.
Yeah, Yuri gets to go to hell. And he even explicitly says, like, he explains to them that it's purgatory because he tells Nikki, you see a bowling alley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved all that stuff. I loved all that stuff. I love that they walk into this place and they're covered in blood and no one notices.
Yeah, no one cares. Yeah.
Like
got
Yuri
the guy
sits
in
down and
the
he's like,
back is
napkins.
grooming.
And just start putting napkins on his ear hole.
I don't know. Like I said, for whatever reason, it totally fucking worked for me. And I kind of liked its weird, artistic, out of left field direction that episode took on all fronts. The head getting cut off, everything about it, I thought was just fucking great. I don't know, it worked for me, you know. So, and you know how we talk about this all the time, and every time we talk, I'm usually very critical. But this, if it works emotionally, I'm like, you know what, I'm going this direction with you. I don't care. I love it. Let's go this direction. Fuck it. Let's go to purgatory.
Yeah, I mean, I said, I actually
and it worked, and I went on.
I really enjoyed the purgatory
My
scene.
only problem is Emmett getting killed 5 years later.
At the
narratively
end.
made no sense to me.
Yeah, narratively it doesn't really lend itself.
I don't think it helped.
Yeah,
I think it
but
hurts.
let's talk about the chess scene. The not really a chess scene, but the fucking the strategic scene between Nikki and VM Varga.
I was gonna
I
bring
guess
this up
we can
next.
talk about how we
Thank
get
you.
up to that, but the way we get up to it, I think, was just like standard. But we can talk about that too. So essentially, the next like what happens after this, Yuri is obviously erased from the planet with the purgatory scene or whatever. Gloria is still concerned about the happenstance of these murders, but then Emmett turns himself in to the cops, and Varga very very smartly is like, well, if you're going to turn yourself in, we're just going to make it seem like some guy has a problem with Stussies.
Yeah.
And so he just gets some schlub. That's so
great.
amazing. He gets some schlub to start serial killing Stutsies.
Yeah.
And it's so perfect because the guy, the sergeant or whatever that hates
Gloria.
that hates Gloria and like all of the ideas that she has, is like, oh, this is a serial killer situation.
You mash potatoes. You know what you get?
Mashed
Mashed
potatoes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what a stupid line, and it's so good.
I love it. It's great.
I know, I love that line too.
I'm a simple man.
Yeah.
He's like Bill Burr, kind of. It's like,
That
I'm
actor's
just a normal
fantastic.
guy.
He's so
Great
good as
actor.
himself.
Great
Yeah.
actor.
Yeah, he is.
He's good as he is because he plays the same character.
He does play, and he plays a lot of cops.
Yeah, he does.
That guy plays a
Army
lot
man.
of cops.
But yeah, so he thinks that they catch a serial killer, even though we know the truth that guy's not really a serial killer. And then Nikki figures out who VM Varga is. She throws a fake grenade into their
Their big
car.
rig. Yeah.
They run out, and then friggin' Mr. Wrench is like shooting at them with an assault rifle. They steal all the files from the back of the big rig, and then she calls Varga and she's like, "We're gonna meet. I have all of your bank account information. I'm gonna make you a poor man unless you give me $2 million." And then we get to my favorite scene with Nikki, even though it's built on a bunch of bullshit. The scene where she's in the hotel lobby with Varga, and they're literally just like having
This back and forth. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such a great moment between this like girl who by all rights should not even be able to stand up to Varga the way that she is.
You just add another zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, he keeps trying to offer her a job.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, this
She's
is
like,
where
I
we
don't
get-
think you get it. I hate you. I want to
Exactly.
kill you.
And so this is where we really get into it. And so, like Ben said, like all the setup is happening, right? And now they're meeting. And Nikki also points out that Nemo most likely has a gun to her head at some point, and they show it. He's got that sniper rifle, and he takes the safety off and gets ready to take a shot. Basically, Nikki says that she can't be bought out. And VM Varga is trying to buy her out. He's like, I want to hire you with your set of skills, and you just added another zero to your salary. You just added another zero to your salary. But she's like, I don't care about that because you don't understand. I want to hurt you. And this is why all the bad guys, all the villains in this show get taken down by their own hubris, is because VM Varga doesn't know how to deal with this. He doesn't know how to deal with someone emotionally invested into a situation. He's used to people being financially invested into a situation, which is why he can walk in to Stussy Lots and just say, hey, we own you and you can't do anything about it. And they don't do anything about it. It's because that's what he's good at. He doesn't know how to deal with people who are emotionally invested. He got Ray killed, and he doesn't know what that means for a person who actually loves him.
Because it doesn't mean anything to him. But this is the second time around, not the first time around, I never questioned it. But the second time around, this is where I'm going like, okay, wait a minute. Her and Mr. Wrench are wanted felons right now, right? Or they got an APB on them or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's just calmly, but that's where I go, okay, you know what? Again, second time around, I'm like, you know what? I don't care. This is TV movie shit. Where someone who's wanted by the cops just goes and sits in a public place, right? Or attacks them in their truck with an automatic weapon.
That's a really good point. They
If
fucking
you shoot an automatic weapon in the street, you're going to attract police attention.
And the fact that the cops never say anything, there's no scene with Gloria at a desk like, I can't believe somebody was using a fucking assault rifle in the middle of the street.
And she's Irish,
TV
apparently.
stuff.
And she's Irish because they're
pretty close.
Yeah, it's in the street. But it's
Well, I
TV
can't
stuff.
believe it.
I forgive it and I move on because we're, again, like I said, we're living in TV movie reality, which is not
Yeah.
reality. None of this
Yeah.
shit would ever fucking happen ever in a movie or TV.
But again, look at where they are. They do some very, very slight establishing shots with the motel scene where it doesn't really seem like they're around a whole lot. They do that a lot in the show, but it's very, very subtle. You have to be looking out of the windows of the lobby, basically. But it kind of looks like they're in the middle of nowhere, and you kind of have seen what the police action has been like this entire time. They don't really. They're more concerned with what they want to be concerned about. You know, it doesn't seem like they're concerned a whole lot about Nikki Swango as much as they should be, even though we as viewers know that they should be because they're more involved with the Stussy thing. That's why I think we can kind of get away with that.
Also,
I've
if
thought
this
about
Jeff
it, and I
guy
think that's what I
who's
kinda
like a
talked about too.
serious like killer guy, you know, if he's really as badass as we're led to believe, then you'd think that the people who locked him up would be like, "Oh fuck, that guy got out." But
we
again,
gotta do it
right.
like her and
How many
Mr.
police
Regis,
do they have? You know,
they have
not a
no
lot.
money.
Not a lot.
They have no money. They have no, and yet they're able to get all these weapons, a
And-
fake grenade, and
yeah.
then they show it. But I mean, they're able to prepare.
I could have used a real grenade, you know.
That-
Yeah, it's like,
that
oh,
takes
you
time.
actually had access
That
to
takes money. That takes hiding from the cops. That takes, again, all that stuff
Yeah.
doesn't matter. And at this point in the show, which is to me is like a wise time to do this to kind of throw off reality a little bit, is because you need it to finish the show out, to finish the story out. And a lot of movies do this. A lot of shows do this, where at the end we kind of just throw away the details that would normally matter, and either you're on board or you're not. And I was on board. I was on board, so I didn't care.
I really liked this specific scene where they were talking to each other. I also really liked it because it wasn't just a straight up Nikki is gonna pull one over on old Varga because she's such a badass. It was a legitimate like
It's a power play.
I'm showing I'm showing you my pieces. What are your pieces? And
Yeah,
there was
it's
the scene,
fantastic.
just like you think like you're a real fucking noticeable guy. You think that you're just gonna be able to kill me in broad
That's
daylight.
great.
And then he's
Yeah.
like, am I?
Look around.
Yeah.
Look around, and
but-
there's all those fucking
great.
pasty white dudes in fucking brown jackets. Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
So like, I mean, look how VM Varga covers himself, though. I mean,
Yeah.
you very, very rarely
He's
see him in
smart.
public. I think you maybe see him in public one other time before this at the
Yeah.
diner. You
Well,
know, where
he
he's eating
talks
all that
about all the
food.
time about being invisible.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
invisible. And they bring up a good point too, which I think is amazing too. Is like you're wondering like, what the fuck is this company that he works for? Like, what's happening? But they point out that there is no company. And you know, he says, "I work for a company called Noble," and she's like, "No, you don't.
I know a boss
Yeah.
when I see
Yeah.
one. I love that.
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah,
That's
you're
great.
the boss.
That was
yeah,
great
yeah."
exchange.
And
Yeah.
he's just like, "You've had another 0-day salary," and like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is like he doesn't realize, he doesn't know what to do to her because she knows everything about him and he's trapped, you know. And so it's such a good scene when you finally see the decline of the villains. They do it in such a way where it seems like they're in control and he knows what he's doing because he covers himself in public in this way, but he doesn't know what to do because he's never dealt with
She even
anything
explains to him, like, you don't understand. I want to hurt you.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
was-
Exactly. Like it's personal.
not
and
used
I
to.
don't care
'cause
how
then
much money
I'm-
you give me.
I'm watching this part thinking like, okay, this is how he must have gotten Mimo. This is how he must have got Yuri.
Hold on, Liz
know
didn't
what I mean?
Liz didn't call me out on my handles over here, so I'm switching them.
Your handles.
My handles are
Oh,
all
we
wrong.
have-
Oh,
Am I Jeremy again?
Blame you, Liz. Just kidding.
it's my
No, Benny D.
I just
Benny
switched
D.
them.
I'm me.
I just switched them. Don't worry about it. Keep going.
So
With me as always. With me as always. What do you say, Dan? What's the thing that Dana says that you always? I'm joined by myself.
I'm joined by myself. Yeah,
oh, I'm joined by myself.
I'm here.
I'll do the face. Well, yeah, I mean, and
Thank you.
and we have one of those moments. It's actually in The Dark Knight too. This is where it's the most noticeable is when the Joker takes over the ballroom, and he's got what's Batman's girlfriend's name?
Rachel.
Rachel.
Yeah.
He's got Rachel, and then Batman's like, "Let her go," and he's like, "Okay," and he throws her out the window, and then
Poor
Batman
choice of
jumps out the
words.
window.
Yeah.
Poor choice of
What
words.
choice of words?
Batman jumps out the window and everything and catches her and saves her, and it's this really cool action sequence. But then there's always that guy who's like, "Well, wait a minute, though. we know Joker's in that building. After Batman caught Rachel and landed on the street, where
They
did the
just
Joker go? Did he just
bathroom
like?
to freshen up.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody else in the ballroom was just like okay with him being like, "All right, anyways, gotta go." Like,
Yeah.
what? But you know, that's
Yeah.
that's movie magic. That's stuff that we can all forgive. And we have the same thing in this sequence in the hotel room where like Mr. Wrench has Nemo by like he's got him with a gun at the back of his neck, and then Varga's like, "Well played, you've done it." And then you know the scene ends, and apparently in that scene they were like shaking hands, and they're like, "Great job, guys! Man, what an amazing thing! You guys have won this round. We're gonna go back to our base. You guys are gonna go back to yours, and we'll just reset everything."
Yeah.
The
It's
parley's
like, obviously
over.
that doesn't work, but in this particular moment, it didn't bother me. I thought it was great. So that's an example of unrealistic storytelling that I thought totally got away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
thought it was a great scene.
we should probably start wrapping this thing up.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Well, we're at the
um,
very
I-
end.
the very
We're
well,
pretty much
one
at
of
the
the
end.
I gotta pee.
very end of
Yeah, I
the,
gotta pee too.
right. What are the
Yeah.
odds that what's her name, Gloria, just so happens to become a Homeland Security agent or whatever?
Well, we
she
can
Really
talk
is?
quick,
about that
this is
too,
an
yeah.
most important, I think, point of the whole entire show is that long hair is more attractive than short hair because she goes from the little boy's haircut and she's got the longer hair and already adds 2 points.
Oh, toward yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. As a Homeland Security, she's already way more
It's all
attractive
fine.
having longer hair.
That's all
Yeah.
fine to me.
Ben, what do you think about that?
I don't. Gloria is like my mom, dude.
I'm 40 years
I was
old.
never
I'm-
attracted to Gloria. I thought Nikki
I'm looking at
Fuego was
Gloria. I'm
hot.
looking at Gloria.
You know,
She's
you know
all
what
right.
I've actually thought
Elizabeth
was attractive
Winstead
though
is
is what's her name?
incredible.
Her friend, Gloria's cop friend.
Oh, Winnie
What's her name?
Lopez.
Winnie Lopez.
Oh.
I don't
Winnie
see that at all.
Lopez.
But
I actually wasn't
definitely
attracted to Whitney
Nut,
Lopez.
ass Nutcracker for sure is hot. Let's just.
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Come on.
Marie
No,
Elizabeth
Gloria
I don't think
Burgle.
that Gloria was
is
ever hot.
incredible.
Well, not when she has Danon's haircut, but when
Hey.
she has. And Danon's beard.
This is what I
When she-
gotta work with what I got. Okay.
I'm telling you, she's cute, and then as soon as she goes,
So just really quickly to
rose it to her
clarify-
shoulders.
To clarify what
instant
we're
2 point.
talking about, the very end of the show, after the standoff with Mimo and whatever, basically Nikki is like, you know what, I'm gonna send those documents to the IRS anyways. Then the IRS gets in contact with Gloria. Then Gloria, after 5 years of, I guess, excellent
Lawler
police work,
Daru or whatever his name
becomes-
is.
Yeah,
Weird.
yeah, that stupid weird
She
IRS
works
name.
really
love that guy.
hard.
She
out
works really
from
hard.
being
She
like
becomes
a
part of the
lowly
DHS, even though she's like way late
Yeah.
in her career.
sheriff, and in 5 years she's with the DHS somehow.
But it doesn't
Probably
matter
on some-
because
yeah,
she
probably.
knows who Varga is. Varga gets picked up by in Switzerland or something, and he gets extradited to the United States. And then we have their final standoff where Gloria says, "Nah, man, you're going to jail." And Varga says, "Nope, in 5 minutes, people are going to walk in and release me." And then it pans on the clock, and we're watching the little thing tick. And I'm
We
sitting
go
there
up to the
thinking,
door, and then it
Mhm.
cuts.
Oh, is
Mhm.
that what it is? All I
Yeah.
remember is thinking, like, are we really going to sit here and wait for 5 minutes before we find it? And then, roll credits. We don't actually know what happens to Varga at the very end of the day, but we don't need to because, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
ending.
It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter.
You leave it ambivalent, and you make up your own mind as to what happened. You know,
Yeah.
because they're both 100% sure that
Mhm.
he's going to Rikers. She thinks he's going to Rikers, and he thinks the door's going to open. His lawyer is going to release him.
Yeah,
Right.
and she doesn't seem to believe him at all. When he's like, "I'm gonna get out of here in 5 minutes," she's like, "No, you're not."
Obviously, you don't
You know?
remember. You do. He's like, no, 5 years ago you had boy hair. You have
Oh, he does say
attractive-
that.
older woman
You
hair.
were,
is
you
what
know,
he said.
Daryl really preferred you more with long hair.
Listen, this is working for you. The short hair was not attractive.
So Gloria, finally gets her.
This shit's bang and go.
Gloria finally gets her resolution, which is the one thing that you don't get to have often in something that is truly realistic. So I really appreciate about this show is that it doesn't need to be so realistic that there's no resolution to anything, which is what would probably actually happen in this situation. We actually do get our little close to resolution, which
Yeah.
is them having their final standoff. I liked it. I think we can probably talk about whether or not we like the show in general and what our
Really
opinions are.
quickly, the Winnie Lopez character is a fantastic character. I
Oh,
love.
we
yeah.
didn't talk about her. She
I
is
love.
really
I
great.
know. She is great though, man. She is a great anchor
Mhm.
for the Gloria Burgle character, and a great sounding board for it. But man, what a great character! And when
Yeah.
you first meet her, you're kind of annoyed by her, right? Because of her accent and everything like that, and the way she talks.
Her accent's
And
more
the fact that she
hardcore than
won't stop
Gloria's.
talking about trying to have a
Yeah,
baby.
it's gross, but
Yeah,
Oh,
like way too much personal information.
yeah, wait, but that's her character,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
she's also you also realize that she's a loving, caring person and is a real rock for the Gloria Burgle character, which yeah, we didn't talk about, but she's a fantastic character and
Mhm.
absolutely necessary to the story and necessary to the show.
she does
And
a
it would have
great
lost something
job,
without
yeah.
her. Oh yeah,
I agree.
the actress
Absolutely
is
agree.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah, so
I'm
good.
ready for final thoughts.
Do you want to give yours first?
Yeah. So I suggested it. So yeah. So, or I should say, I suggested the show. So I'd give it like a 9.5. The only reason I wouldn't give it a 10 is because I feel like they could have edited it down to about eight episodes. I do, unfortunately, I love the story of Ennis Stussy and how he, gets swindled out of his money in Hollywood and then goes to Minnesota to basically just exist because he's given up at that point. Um, it's so far removed from the rest of the show. I feel like we could have done without that, or maybe at least a very condensed version of that. And I think there could have been little cuts here and there. There's a couple parts where it feels very slow. There's a scene where is it Mimo or Nemo? Mimo? Mimo. Where he's dancing in Emmett's house, and the house is like completely bare, and you're just Emmett's completely down. His wife just left him, and all this stuff, and that felt a little bit stretched to me. It's like right before the show like kicks off again. I feel like they could have done a little bit without that, because that up until this point, like even the slower parts of the show, the dialogue and the interactions between the characters and the setup is so intense and entertaining that you don't really think about it. And then we hit this slow patch, and I think about episode 6 or 7, where it starts to feel a little bit sluggish. I think they could have just done a little bit, sluggish, where they could have like done some sluggish
Slogging.
editing and edit that slog out of here. So, but yeah,
Slogging it
other
out.
than that, like absolutely fantastic. It just goes to show like how writing your characters and like completely fleshing out your characters will make you want to watch every single character on the screen, no matter who it is. And they absolutely nail it, especially for a villain, who you don't want to die because you're so excited to listen to him continue speaking and outsmarting the protagonist. VM Varga is like up there and one of my favorite ever villains, like because he's just so good, and David Thewlis plays him amazingly. Like you forget he's Professor Lupin, like you're just like, this guy is just some
very
schlub.
lovable as Professor Lupin.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he's a really good guy.
The 180 like that is impressive.
Yeah, so to come back around and play this like very nonchalant bad guy who's just right off the bat just assumes and is in charge of everything is just incredible.
It's very menacing.
Incredible
Menacing.
performance. Yeah, it's so fun to watch
with
him
a
on
subdued
screen.
performance.
Yeah. So
Bend
yeah,
your
I'd
neck.
say 9.5 out of 10 for me. If they just did a little bit of editing, it would have been an absolute 10 out of 10. But that's the only thing that the show is missing. Otherwise, I think it's like perfect TV.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would say.
Oh, really quick.
Okay.
If you have seen this in the chat, if you've seen the show, Liz, I want to hear your opinions too in the chat. I want to.
Oh yeah, put
the
your
rating.
opinions.
Yeah, give us your rating.
So I would give the first 7 episodes a 10 out of 10. I think it is some of the best written television. The fact that it's on FX too, like, Jesus, dude.
FX has great shows. Come on, all their
Well,
shows.
I mean, it's
a
not-
lot of their shows are
I'm
phenomenal.
just saying that it's not like HBO
Don't
or
take
something
offense,
where they're
Jeremy. You don't work for
obligated
FX.
Yeah.
to have
a lot of my favorite shows are FX shows.
Right?
Uh,
Think about my FX, man.
Just especially for FX. I mean, geez, who would have? Hey,
That shit
Hold on a
especially,
minute. FX
especially for cable television, like like basic cable. It's not
cable,
like
yeah.
Showtime or something.
I would agree with you.
It's, they don't generally have the biggest budgets and things like that. But like, goddamn, dude, those first 7 episodes, I was so amazed at how they were to make such a real crime drama, something that felt real. It wasn't over the top or anything like that. Those 7 episodes, 10 out of 10. The last 3, uh, everything was still the same quality of writing, except for Nikki Swango's subplot and the fact that Gloria became, a DHS agent at the end. I could have forgiven a lot of that if it wasn't just so quickly compounding on top of each other. So because of just how much they disregarded what that might do to this careful balance that they did create in the first 7 episodes, I would have to give those like a 7 out of 10. But it's just the last 3 episodes. I mean, this thing hits it out of the park for 7 hours. And then the last 3 hours, they kind of blunder a little bit with like a third of the plot. Like I'm telling you, this thing's really fucking good. I absolutely recommend the show.
Hard to do.
And it's
Definitely.
like it's amazing that they did it. It's honestly so well written. I can't believe it. Like I wish it was better written for my own standards. But god damn it, dude, they already did an amazing job. Like I'm asking a lot for them to have nailed it so perfectly. I'm asking for perfection. And the fact that they didn't deliver perfection is not something to be upset about. So it's great. Watch it.
What's your rating?
Oh, my rating was 10 out of 10 for the 7 episodes, and then 7 out of 10 for the last 3.
Okay.
Man, well, I really liked this show a lot. I don't think, honestly, I don't think I loved it the way that you guys seem to love it. Like I enjoyed watching it. It was fun. I don't know if I would watch it again. You know what I'm saying? Like I would recommend it. I would recommend it to people to go and watch. I don't know if I would go through and watch it again. And it was good. I really enjoyed it. I guess my only thing is well, I guess it's not a bad thing, but as the show goes on, I'm not really too sure who is like supposed to be the main protagonist. It doesn't seem like, well, I guess I know who's supposed to be the main protagonist. It's Gloria, right? I ended up rooting for like Ray. Ray ended up being one of the people that I like.
Yeah,
was
I think
kind of
we all are on some level. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really liked it. I would give it, but I didn't like fall. I don't know if I quite fell in love with it the way that you guys did. So I would give it like a 7, like a 7.5 out of 10 all the way through. I really liked it. I might watch it again in the distant future, and I would definitely recommend it to everyone. Also, we didn't really talk about this, but dude, this has to be one of the best things I've ever seen Ewan McGregor in.
Oh yeah, he's great.
I mean, like,
he's great as.
I mean, we didn't really talk too much about him.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, just on a performance level alone, dude, this is
roles.
It's
this has got to be one of the best things he's ever done.
It's almost as good as Moulin Rouge.
Oh,
okay.
We're not doing it.
Honestly,
him playing 2 characters was impeccably done. You cannot.
Yeah. It's got to be one of the highlights for his career, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really some of his best stuff ever.
Just to butt in really quick, have you guys seen anything about The Deuce on HBO? It's got
I've heard.
It's got Wonder Dog in it. What's her name? Maggie Gyllenhaal, and
Got to have a bit of a hound.
Wonder Dog?
she looks a little bit like Underdog.
Oh.
Yeah, and
wow.
James Franco. James Franco plays twins in that show.
That's where I've heard of it. Yeah.
But they're too close. They're too close in character, and they look too similar. Where I'm just watching it, I'm like, this doesn't work for me. But for Ewan McGregor playing Ray and Emmett Stussy, it's incredible. For one,
really
they're very well written and well fleshed out separate characters, and they also look very different too. I think that really helps.
That part real quick, when they're out, they go outside. When he's bygones, and they sit on the benches, dude. If you did not fucking know, right, it would be 2 different actors. It is so.
I forgot that it was 2 different actors, or I forgot that it was the same actor. And when he put on the wig, I was like, "Whoa, he looks just like."
Yeah.
But that's how I've never, and they've done this before where they have the same actor play twins or whatever. But brothers, this is the best I've ever seen of an actor playing 2 different characters, and you don't suddenly go, "Oh shit, wait, this is the same guy." It's like especially that part where they go talk on the benches. Absolutely amazing. You cannot.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So I'd 7.5 out of 10 overall, but easily the best thing I've ever seen Ewan McGregor in, and I gotta imagine this is one of the highlights of his career. being able to do this. Like it's really amazing. So
I would say
Yeah.
critically, yeah. Like this has redeemed Ewan McGregor for me. Like he's done some good stuff in some places, but I would never specifically watch anything with him. But yeah, after that performance, like yeah, it's pretty incredible. This is also where I learned about Michael Stahlberg, who plays Cy Felds. So I went on a Michael Stahlberg binge there for a little bit. So I watched A Very Serious Man, which is another Coen Brothers movie, and he's also in The Shape of Water as the Russian scientist.
yeah, I know him from
He is like
somewhere.
that, isn't he?
God.
Mhm.
Because I couldn't think of anything else he'd done.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
his
been in-
face is recognizable.
He's also the dad in Call Me by Your Name. He's the dad in that. So he's been in a bunch of stuff since
Yeah.
Fargo, of and around Fargo. I wonder if it's because of that, but he was in A Serious Man, which is I think is like 2014. I think that's like his breakout critical role, because it was a Coen Brothers movie. But yeah, Dad, what's your rating?
9.5 easily. Maybe 9.56.
Yeah.
Good next level. No, nothing
Splitting
will
hairs?
be as far as TV shows go. Breaking Bad is my all-time favorite of all time. So Breaking Bad, like I watched 3 separate times without prompting. Now, so that's the thing is like as much as I love this and I think it's great, I wouldn't have watched this again unless we're doing the podcast. So
Yeah.
that's saying something.
Yeah.
But I still rewatching it, I realized how amazing it truly was. How great the cinematography is incredible.
Yeah.
The editing, everything about it is fantastic. But I will agree with Ben where it did. That's where it got a little iffy for me was at the end there, with those. But I also, again, like I said, I was in, so I forgave it and I didn't care about the stuff that bothered you so intensely. But I don't necessarily disagree with you. It just didn't bother me. It worked for me. It wrapped it up. I moved on. You know what I mean? So, but
Yeah.
but that's the thing is like, will I ever watch it again? Most likely not.
Justice for Mimo.
Just
Fucking off-screen death. Come on.
all right, I know, right?
Bring
He
him back
deserved
just to
better.
explain him. Yeah.
He deserved way better, man. He was dancing and having a good time, and they just fucking killed him
He was
like
a great
that.
character. Another great character. Another
Mhm.
great character when he was on.
Yeah.
Even when before those guys even got lines. Because
Oh,
it
yeah.
took a while.
Yeah.
It
Just
did
the
take a long
presence.
time.
Especially
Yeah.
me.
Their
No.
presence their on-screen presence is enough to make
Yeah,
it
Very
they would just come in
powerful.
and
I
sit down in the
actually-
room, and you're just
Yeah.
like,
I didn't
"Holy."
even know if Mimo spoke English for a long time because
Mm.
the very first time he's spoken to, the guy speaks in some other language. Varga
He's got his
says-
headphones on the whole time. He just has
Yeah.
a gun. He's
Mhm.
all of 2 foot tall. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. I agree.
Right? Like I was
What
like, I
a-
would not fuck with this guy.
What a
ever.
great character, man.
Really. So
Yeah. So really quick, Liz in the chat says 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. And she says that's all I got right now. Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
And got to leave room for a higher season 1 rating. So again, season 1. She also says I think that's why I wouldn't watch it again by choice, but it was good for what it was. Yeah, I only saw the show once when we initially watched it. I watched a couple episodes on my own, and then I moved into my dad's before I moved out to Austin. And I was like, okay, we got to watch this. So I rewatched those first 3 episodes with him, and then watched the rest with him. I haven't seen it since we sat down and watched it for the
Me neither.
podcast. And
Yeah.
for me personally, I didn't really need to, because I absorbed that show so closely. I watched it so closely. I was just able to think back on all those moments and remember pretty much everything about the show, which is very rare for me. But yeah, you guys have good points. I mean, it's a really good show, but I don't think it really warrants a lot of rewatching. I feel like you get a lot of what the show's supposed to be the first time through.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of hidden. They
It's
do
not
a
like
very
I-
good job of explaining what the show is in the time.
It's
that
not like
they
the
give it.
second time through. I was like, oh my god, I totally missed this the first time.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't have any of those revelations, if you will.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, I think
Moments.
that's a testament to the writing where they're able to convey all of the ideas that they want to convey the
Yeah.
first time through, and you don't need to rewatch it
It's done
second
so
or third
well
time.
that you don't need. Yeah.
No, because it's
So-
not it's a very complex story, but it's not complex storytelling. They're just telling you a story. Really quickly,
It's
I
a
wanted
complicated story told in a simple way, which is one
Yes.
of the best ways to tell a story.
to yeah.
Absolutely.
One of the things that Ben was talking about earlier that I want to touch on too is that when the original movie came out, and I touched on this a couple weeks ago, is "This is a true story" opening line got a lot of flack from a lot of people, and they talked to Ethan and Joel Cohen like over and over, like, why did you guys include this? And they've changed their answer several times, but they basically just said like, there's nothing that says that we can't, and so we're basically bringing your attention to this and asking you to think a little bit more on what's going on in the story by putting this simple line in. And there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing that legally you can't say that this is a true story or not. So when they put it in the
It's what
beginning
the
of
original Fargo did. I mean, it's not like the
Yeah.
Coens did that.
They say based on a true story all the time in movies, and they
based,
Yeah.
they take some liberties.
very loose term.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But in the show, they do a very important thing, I think, and this is what allowed me, as a viewer, to just kind of buy whatever they were giving me. Is they say this is a true story, and then the true fades out, so it just says this is a story.
I
think that is a very important way. And this is maybe why I was subconsciously able to buy every ridiculous thing that happens in this story, is because they said that. And I wonder, what do you think about that, Ben?
Well, I think so going back to the movie is so realistic that so actually here's what it is, right? I actually watched the movie Fargo not that long ago, maybe a month ago.
Me too. Yeah.
And I didn't know that it wasn't based on a true story. I watched everything, and a lot of the plot details that happen in that movie are kind of erroneous, and they're kind of weirdly like realistic. There's a scene where she has like dinner with this like old high school friend just because she's in town, and it has no bearing on the story whatsoever. He's just like, he turns out to be a loser who was lying about having gotten married to another girl, and then like he says that she died, but she actually didn't die. He was just literally a loser. And to me, I was like, oh, well, they included that because that's what she actually, experienced in that. It's just one of those weird real life situations where you get into this awkward thing with an old classmate of yours.
It didn't do anything for the story.
No, it had no bearing on the story at all. And everything else in the movie has that same kind of flair where it's like, it just feels very real.
Yeah.
Mr. Lundegaard, Jerry Lundegaard, doesn't get caught by the cop character, even though he's the one that caused everything.
Flee in the interview.
He's
flee in the interview.
Yeah. He flees the interview, and then just they pick him up in a motel somewhere, and the cops, like some random no-name cops, get him, which is exactly what happens in real life. The guy who flees the cops gets picked up in a motel somewhere, and like that's it, because he was hiding in a motel, and then like the cops caught up to him, and he tries to get out the window, and the cops grab him, and the guy from Cops, the show, is like running behind the cops watching them get this guy, because that's just how real life works. And because of all that, that's what was really special about Fargo to me, was that it was a movie that demonstrated incredible storytelling by following the rules of real life. And so the homage paid to that with the opening of This Is a True Story, I thought was thematically very relevant for those first 7 episodes, because they did the same exact thing. They told a realistic crime narrative where these people are getting in over their heads, but you don't ever feel like, at least in those first 7 episodes, that they're doing things that are totally unrealistic. You think that they're doing things that feel like totally reasonable choices that these people with the power that they have would make and would follow through on and would fuck up. I mean, fucking, it's like Psy when he accidentally rams into that other girl's car.
Yeah.
That's not something that a well-written character in an action movie would do.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a total blunder that some fucking loser from Minnesota who's caught up in over his head and trying to get back at like this
Who
brother.
thinks he's a badass?
Yeah,
Take the binders off.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, you let me do my thing. You got to let me do my thing. It's like, oh, you just fucked up, you idiot. It's like
the first thing he does is fuck it up.
That's what real people do. And so the fact that the show is so focused on making realistic scenarios, I think absolutely gives them the right to start with that title card of This Is a True Story, and then the true fades away. It's like they earned it, dude. This is great realistic storytelling that you almost never get, because it's hard to tell a realistic story in a compelling way. So I think that it's totally deserved.
Yeah. No, I think specifically that fact that the true fades away is what allowed me subconsciously to buy all the ridiculousness that happens. But it's such a good way to do it too, because they just say that this is a true story, and then they fade the true out, and you're like they basically set you up for exactly what's going to happen. So by hitting on these very realistic, realistic points, and then they kind of get into the ridiculous parts. That is the story of Fargo for the TV show. You should definitely watch season 1. Season 1's really good.
Yeah, I'll watch season 1.
Yeah, it's Martin Freeman opposite Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh, that is great. Yeah.
Oh.
Very, very good. Very good.
This season 1 has what is that Chris Rock in it as well?
No, that's season 4.
Season 2? Season 4.
4.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. I started season 4. I think I stopped it to watch season 3 when we were going to talk about it, and I haven't gotten back to it. But it's Fargo so far, but it takes place in different time. I don't know. It's a little strange. I'll have to start from the beginning again. But okay. Liz says that I read that they wanted to make the movie in a true story genre, and I love that. And that's why they put that in the front. I mean, yeah. So
whatever they did, like wherever they did it, it worked so well that they earned it.
They caused the death.
They definitely should have maybe clarified better that it wasn't actually a real story, and that one girl from Japan should not have tried to find the money. But other than that, totally deserved.
Totally great. Yeah, totally great.
Artistic license.
Yeah.
Artistic
Again, there's
license.
nothing that says that you are not legally allowed to do that. So you can.
There's
you can
nothing
do
that
at the
says you can't
beginning
have a
of
dog on your
Avatar.
baseball team. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on. Airbud deserves his chance, okay? Okay, so that was our review of Fargo season 3. That was a long one.
It was a long. That's why I was amazed
Yeah.
you wanted to do it in one shot, man. There's so much to
It's a
unpack
lot.
in this.
It's a lot.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I think we got it in one shot.
Yeah, I think we got it.
I think we did okay.
I hit all the parts I wanted to hit, so. But cool. So that's that. What should we do next? I have an idea, but if you guys have anything you want to go over, any movies, I think we should do a movie now. Something digestible.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Definitely a movie
Yeah.
would be nice.
Like,
What was
more
that?
easily digestible.
Yeah, more digestible. Okay,
Wonder Woman
that's fine.
1984.
No,
We could do that.
We could do it. I
We
just
have to
watched
do
it.
that.
I got
Nobody
some
liked
shit.
it. Yeah,
Got some shit to
got a
say
lot of
about
shit.
that.
This is called the We Like This podcast. We're gonna fucking
It's a
watch
steaming
something.
pile of shit. Yeah, we should. No, I think enough people have done it and shat all over it. There's no reason to at this point.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay. That was the show I was thinking of, but we'll get away from shows.
1984. I mean,
No,
we can-
I was thinking of Cobra Kai, but it's another show, and we would. That maybe we go back to TV shows,
Some
we'll
of the
take a
time,
break
yeah.
from shows.
Let's table,
And then we could
Cobra
go-
Kai.
why,
Yeah.
why don't we just
we did
table
like
the whole
2
movie
shows back to
for-
back.
Let's not decide now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let's end this thing. I literally
Wait, I
am
thought
sitting in a
Danon
gallon
had
of
a
it.
suggestion. Let's
No.
hear Danon's
Yeah.
suggestion, and we'll keep it
Yeah,
10.
what's your suggestion?
Locke 2013. It's got Tom Hardy in it. It's a very interesting movie because it takes place only in a car and it's all dialogue.
Whoa.
So I liked it. I don't know if I enjoyed it and I liked it, but I don't know if it's fantastic as it was supposed to be, but it's a very interesting idea, very interesting concept, and they did it, and they did it well. So I think that would be a good one to discuss.
That could be interesting. I could be
Okay.
convinced.
Can
So
look
Locke
into it.
2013.
we'll
It was
think-
on Netflix, so we can look for it there. So,
All right, we can. All right, that will be our tentative choice.
Yeah. If
Okay.
it changes, I'll let everybody know in the Discord. So, by the way,
Yeah.
you can follow us on Instagram at We Like This Podcast. It's WLT Podcast. And then our Discord is linked in the description. So you can join that and stay up to date with when we go live and the next movie and stuff like that. So cool. That's pretty much it. I need to go pee.
And
'cause
the
it's been
older
2.5
members
hours.
of our group need to go to sleep.
I need to pee. I need to
Older
sleep.
member.
I have been yawning. like-
oh, and then Jeremy.
It's like almost 8:30. It's not that late.
okay. Okay. It's
It's not even
10:09
almost
over
8:30.
here.
It's close. It's 8:09.
8:09. Still
Rounding
closer to
up.
8 than 8:30.
That sounds
Actually,
like
yeah,
something
you're
else
right.
say. It's 8:09. Right? It's almost 10.
Yeah.
It's almost.
Well, it
Jeez.
feels like it's 1 a.m.
It
Yeah.
could be 10 tomorrow.
All right, Jeremy, go
All right,
change
yeah.
your colostomy bag or whatever you got to
Yeah,
do.
Yeah.
put another diaper on for Christ's sakes. Like that shit.
Jesus. All
Wake
right.
up early. All right. Feels
Thank
Yeah,
like.
he's a working man, okay?
Yeah.
Work, man.
Thank you.
All right. All right, thanks for
later.
watching, everybody. Catch you next